Plus 2 is proud to bring you the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
This week on the Pokercast, Rep Porter joins us to talk tournament strategy in preparation for Scoop and the World Series. Now here are your hosts, Adam and Terrence.
Welcome, everybody, to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. I am your host, Adam Schwartz, joined alongside co-host Terrence Chan and Mr. Roscoe P.
Nice to be on your show.
Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Chicago had a sick record.
I was trying to preempt Ross there and to make
Beat
him
him
scramble for another drop.
You guys came out to the suburbs. I appreciate it. We're all in the same room.
There was a lot of manure on this drive.
Really?
I'm just going to point out that
cow manure.
I think the worst of
Hopefully
it was the horse one that we drove by at the end, Ross. But
oh yeah,
I'm just next time I got to remember not to put the top down on the car until I pass that.
These are the smells of the suburbs, Mr. Chan. You live downtown.
I know.
I
eat the fruits and vegetables in my local supermarket.
Yeah, this is where they come from.
Exactly. So what are you going to do?
You're sourcing them.
Yeah,
indeed. Off the top of the show, I want to say our thoughts are going out to everybody in Fort McMurray right now. I can't imagine the scale of this. I don't know if you guys have followed this, but 80,000. Imagine an entire town of 80,000 people being evacuated. Like, the town is what's left of it is a complete ghost town, and the scale that this thing is amazing.
Right, and it's such like brutal timing because of the fires, and like apparently it's like 70 km/h winds too, right? Like there's no way that a fire of this scale like becomes that big of a deal unless it's a perfect storm of things that come together. And just trying to imagine an entire city of 80,000 being evacuated and not one fatality. The amazing job that is going on with the people who are the first responders, the firefighters, the people there that are moving people in and out. Nobody's gotten seriously hurt, and I haven't heard anything about looting or anything like that. So, hats off to everybody that's rallying around, and helping out in Fort McMurray, and hopefully 8 times larger overnight is what I'm looking at. Like overnight, it just got 8 times bigger than it was. It's now 85,000 hectares. Like, I don't even have a concept of
massive
how much area that is. Yeah,
it's unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it in my lifetime.
So let's if you know how to do any rain dances and you're up there in the region. So
indeed, the feel-good story of the week that happened in the sports world was Leicester winning the Premiership in England. I'm a sports fan. I follow English soccer, but I'm not a super fan of it.
Shouldn't you call it English football then?
Yeah, English football. And I think this is the biggest long shot in the history of sports that I can remember.
Really?
They were 5,000 to 1 to win the Premiership before.
Wow.
A couple of years ago, they were playing in much lower league, and they've worked their way up. I think they had to win 7 of 9 last year just to stay.
Because soccer's
at the
typically
end
considered
in
a game that doesn't have like a lot of variance.
Yeah.
Right. Like you always know that like the teams that are drawing dead in like the World Cup, like they're really drawing dead. Like nobody's going to just Cinderella their way to winning the world. Like
exactly.
Like Iraq is not going to win the World Cup,
right? Even though they go, they're not going to win.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just not going to happen. Like nobody outside of like the top 8 is ever going to win or whatever it is, right? Like,
this is really similar, and amazing story. I think all of England sort of got behind the team, and the amazing stuff that came out of there. Fantastic.
Did you see people trolling David Cameron on Twitter?
No, what was he?
Because David Cameron, I don't know. People just make fun of him. I guess he's not very well liked, and he.
There's the whole pig thing.
Didn't
do many favors.
And he's a kind of a fake soccer fan. Apparently, he said he was a fan of one team, but like didn't know anything about them. So he tweeted out like "Congratulations to Leicester," and then people just started trolling him mercilessly. If you Google it, it's pretty funny.
That's like such a common thing for politicians to do.
Stop
it!
To,
like pretend.
Don't be disingenuous.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't even know like why they think that that level of pandering is going to work when so many people are like hardcore sports fans and they live and die, and sports is like so important for them, and they're just looking for a reason for you to be stupid.
Don't pretend. People will see right through you.
Especially in England.
It's like the Ted Cruz like basketball ring thing.
The basketball ring was great.
It's just like, that's not the biggest mistake in the world, right? Like, it's not really that big a deal to call the hoop a ring, but like the fact that you're going there like
in Indiana,
specifically trying to like win votes and pander and like look how great how similar I am to you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here and I'm a big shot politician, but I like basketball too, and it's really important. Oh no, they call it a basketball ring. Like, when you put it in that kind of context, it's like you're just asking.
Did you see that Trump?
So today, Donald Trump tweets out Cinco de Mayo, of course, today, and he's eating a taco bowl at one of his restaurants, and his thing is Happy Cinco de Mayo. I love Hispanics! !
I'm sure you do.
And you're like, what?
Yeah. Oh,
you love Hispanics? Like, oh my God, dude.
He's the Helmuth of politics. It's great.
How about another 5,000 to 1 shot? I think you could have got pretty long odds. Congrats to anybody out there who bet on Trump to be the Republican nominee a year ago, many months ago. Yeah. He was super long odds. Yeah. He now shipped it, and we'll see what happens when he goes into. Everybody's saying he has.
Nate Silver got destroyed. Like, Nate Silver gave no credit. 538 thought there was no chance.
Oh, so this week we had the release of All In or Knocked Out episode 2. Yeah. I haven't had a chance to listen to all. I listened to the first little bit, and fascinating as well. Were you happy? Was it hard to get this one out, or were you happy with the format?
I mean, Ross does all the hard editing stuff, and I do the writing stuff. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was good, but it was mostly good not because of anything that we did, just because I thought that the guys were just really super candid and really open and talked about it. And that's why I think the production is a good one. There's definitely some shots fired in this one, and it'll be fun. I think people will enjoy it, and they'll really enjoy the lead up. I think the next episode, we're gonna get close to the fight. Next one,
okay.
We're probably just almost gonna leave it on the fight level cliffhanger. So we're getting in there. Obviously, like, if you listen to this show and you follow Poker World at all, it's not much of a cliffhanger. There's no suspense to it. It's not. But I think people will enjoy the character development and even just kind of knowing what you know. And then like I've said all along, like, this is the kind of thing that I hope like 5 years ago somebody picks up and really enjoys. But we're both, I think, really proud of episode 2. Ross had to do a ton of editing on this one. There's lots of like 5 seconds of me talking, and then 12 seconds of JC talking, and 5 seconds of me talking, and 20 seconds of Olivier talking, and
a lot of blending.
A lot of blending. A lot for sure. So it's hard. It's like we've put so much into it. We've put so many hours into it. It's just there's been times where I've just been writing, and then I just go like collapse on the bed, not to like sleep, but just to lie down,
stop thinking about it,
and just like the room needs to stop spinning because my brain is going so fast. It's like the way that I've been telling people about it is like I'm trying to run a marathon. So we all know a marathon is 26 miles. But instead of just like keeping up a pace for 26 miles, I'm trying to run each mile like as fast as I can.
Right.
And then I just like collapse at the 1 mile mark, and then like I pick myself up, and then I sprint again as fast as I can. It's like the dumbest way to run a marathon, but this is apparently how I'm writing this thing.
Nice. Looking forward to listening to the end of this one and the next one. We're still on track for 6 or 7, I'm guessing.
Yeah, probably.
In that
something
range?
Like that. Yep.
Awesome. So a quick reminder about the World Series of Poker Fantasy Draft we've got going on in our forum. We're up to 14 teams, Roscoe, is that right?
Yeah, I've got a couple more submissions today.
Cool.
Just a warning, Ross has been like grinding the predictive strategy. Like, you've been doing your research.
Been working it?
Well, I mean, by research, I wasn't like
now you're going to sandbag.
Regression models and like contacting people, but I reviewed people that I thought were good, like everybody should do.
Good. Thankfully,
I don't believe him. I think he's going to be the Max Stiller of this.
Well, he only gets one entry. He can't flood the tournament with entries. So it is single entry. World Series of Poker Fantasy Draft. Head on over to our forum. Get involved. It's a lot of fun. $20 to get in. So
everybody should try and get a team in there.
You got $20 lying around in your couch.
Get a big pool. It's going to be awesome.
There's other topics. One of the forums on 2+2, fantastic forum. If you've never been there, it's basically everything other than poker and all kinds of different life advice.
How did the
funny
second
stuff.
other get in there? Because I know there was like the other topics, and then other topics got so far out of hand that they had to get to other
topics, and then the other topics is gone now. I don't know what happened. So the surviving one is.
So there's only other topics.
Yeah. There's an eating challenge going on, and this is something that we talk about a lot. It was decided that chicken nuggets, where McDonald's chicken nuggets or Burger King chicken nuggets was going to be the item for the eating challenge this time. People are going to post videos and different stats on how many they can eat. Thursday, May 12th. 7 p.m. in other topics.
Is there some verification required, or is this just purely on system?
It's a celebration.
Okay.
It's not a contest.
It's not a contest. Okay.
Yeah,
it's not a pool.
Please no wager.
I gotcha.
You can purge, do whatever you want to do.
Oh, geez.
Roscoe, chicken nuggets. You're the human stomach. You're amazing. How many chicken nuggets do you feel you can eat in, say, an hour? If you had to, like, if it was life or death situation, how many do you think you could put away?
I don't know. Maybe like 100?
Yeah, I got you over 100.
Okay.
It depends on like if they're just average size. I'm not exactly
Well, it's
sure.
a McDonald's chicken nugget. You have a baseline size for how it is. But so, Adam, I'll tell you that, and I didn't know this before, but Ross, of course, came to Las Vegas to work on the All Winner Knocked Out. I think I can take him, like, easily.
What?
Yeah. Like, it's not even...
This guy?
I tapped out a couple times.
Yeah.
But there was...
What the hell?
Extenuating circumstances.
So Ross outweighs me by like 70 pounds or so, but like, yeah.
Well, that doesn't matter. Like,
I can destroy him.
You look back in the hot dog eating challenge. What's the guy that? Yeah,
Kobayashi.
Kobayashi's a small
but
little
those
guy.
guys train for it, right? So like,
and the girl, she's great, and she's like 105 pounds.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, so yeah, but that's stomach size, and I don't think either Ross or I is like specifically trained to make our stomach
expand your stomach
bigger. So you just kind of think like natural appetite. Like he outweighs me like 3-2. But yeah, like I was disappointed that you didn't even finish the whole rack of ribs. I made the guy a rack of ribs.
Yeah.
All right.
And because what happened was that we're working hard on the thing, and my girlfriend's making dinner, and I just say like, hey, honey, just so you know, like Ross eats a lot. Like he eats about as much as I do. So make it as though you're making one for yourself and 2 meals for me.
Right.
And she did that. And guess who finished the plate and who didn't? I'm just saying.
You're burning calories.
I left one rib. Yeah, I'm
he's
just
lying around the couch, sleeping his ass off.
But that's the thing. One rib. You left one rib, which is like, well, it's just one rib. Like you can.
It's wafer thin.
Just put back the one rib.
So head on over to the OOT Nugget celebration. El Diablo is running the celebration. It'll be a lot of fun. People posting videos. They did an Oreo face-off one year where people ate as many Oreos as they could. And
that almost seems like in a way harder than chicken nuggets.
I think so.
Because like the saturation of the sugar and that feel after a while. Like chicken nuggets are made to be a little bit more consumable.
I think I could eat a lot of nuggets. I think I could probably polish 60 nuggets.
Because the thing is, there's probably more calories in a chicken nugget, but you'd get like sick a lot slower.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. So head on over there. Let's get to. We haven't done the Internet Poker's Wall of Fame for a while. When we do one of those,
Ross can dust off the music.
This week, up on the old Wall of Fame, let's throw Sauce 1 2 3.
Okay. All right.
Ben Sulsky. He of course has crushed high limit, no limit poker, pot limit Omaha, no limit hold'em, pot limit Omaha for years. I think he's up 4 million online since 2011. And the impressive thing about Sauce is, we talk about it a lot, but there's flash in the pans. Guys come along, they go, they're gone 6 months later. They run hot, and then go bust, and then you never hear from them again. He's been at the top of the cash game food chain for a very long time. We're talking about 5 years now. That's an eternity in online poker.
Right. I was going to say, like, he's actually probably one of the of all the inductees we have. He's probably more representative than New School than most of the guys we had. Most of the guys that we have, they were actually like playing in
field players kind of thing.
Well, no, I just mean like more playing. They were playing in like the 2000s.
Oh, I see.
Right, like so we have like the Prolog Freemans and the Chris Normans and guys like that. Even Galfon or something like that. Yeah, Patrick. These are guys who've been around. But we point out like 2011. Oh, like doesn't sound that long ago, but like you say, in the internet poker world, it's a really long time to be playing at that high stakes, I think. And yeah, so it's definitely cool to have somebody whose career sort of spanned the post 2010. Like I think we like to have the sort of stand the test of time criteria, but I mean. The measurement that we use, that you have to use for the IPOF is obviously going to be much more condensed, and then we're not ridiculous like the World Series that thinks that like Phil Ivey hasn't been around long enough to get into the Poker Hall of Fame.
Right. All right, let's get on to something. Oh, and somebody mentioned last week about Gigabet. We had an email about Gigabet. Yeah. Daryl Dickin going up on the wall. I'm not sold. I don't know. I need somebody to sell me on that.
People can make their case.
I feel like he's on the border of should he be on our wall or not.
Sauce.
Internet poker.
So my son, that's his new favorite song. He goes, "Have you ever heard this song before?" And I'm like, I hear it every week. He plays it nonstop. As soon as he gets in, he plays the song.
I thought Ross just picked like some random song.
No.
Off of YouTube. It's a real.
That's a hit.
It's a big. hit.
And then I remember the UFC guy walked out to it too. Wow.
All right, let's get into some in case you missed it.
How did he miss the open goal? 6x4, and he comes up 0.
Oh, yes! He missed it!
He's missed it! How on earth did he miss that?
In case you missed it, the EPT Grand Final in Monaco, the main event, is down to, I think, about 10 players left. 1,098 entries. By far the most in the 12-year history of the EPT to their grand final. It was half the buy-in. It used to be 10,000 euros. This year, 5,300 euros. So half the entry fee, but almost double the field last year of Monaco. So prize pool pretty close to the same. 960,000 euros to the winner. So keep your eye over at the PokerStars blog if you want to follow along and see who ends up taking that one down.
So last week you were complaining about the sort of the lack of the coverage on this event, but I'm seeing now that they've gotten it in order a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. Over the PokerStars blog, it's in they seem to have listened to people who were complaining about not knowing what was going on. But Jimmy Guerrero from France, who won a satellite to get in there, is your chip leader, 8.6 million. Dario Sammartino, Antoine Saou from
November 9 fame.
November 9 fame is last in chips, I believe. But lots of qualifiers.
Four French flags that I can see in the last 8.
A couple qualifiers from Stars, a couple live satellite winners in there. So pretty cool final table for the EPT Grand Final. I'm sure it's interesting over at the EPT Live as well if you want to follow along. Also in the news over at the EPT Grand Final, Oli Shimeon ends up the German takes down the 100K high roller, got heads up with GPL first overall pick Mustafa Kanat, and they made a deal where Ole got 1.6 million euros, 61 total entries into the 100K high roller. So those things are still a real healthy little economy that they have going.
6.1 million euros, I guess. That's a lot of cheese.
And they've been going for a few years. I kind of thought at the beginning that might be dangerous to have these 100Ks all the time, to be, maybe you just move all the money into one place if somebody runs good or whatever.
Right, but there's so much swapping going on that, people who all just have like 15% of themselves and of everybody else, is that like it ends up reducing variance like quite a lot.
So that was the 100K high roller Ole Shimeon takes down. Right after that, and I believe actually simultaneously, he played the 50K high roller, and he got heads up with Fabian Quas for the 50K high roller. So they ended up making a deal. Shimeon had a 3-2 chip lead when they were heads up, and he got 850,000 euros. Quas ends up winning the title after the deal, so Ole got second. A nice little week, almost $3 million US for Ole in a couple of high rollers there. He becomes the first. He takes over first place in the career winnings for German MTT players.
What age do you think Ole Shimeon is?
Ole Shimeon is 22.
23. That's pretty shocking.
Not bad.
Yeah.
because I remember it wasn't too long ago where he was coming over to the World Series of Poker, even though he had millions for his first year. And I'm guessing he'll be on his way over after this series wraps up. Some more news over at the EPT Grand Final in Monaco. Justin Bonomo, he gets to the final table of a 2,000 euro no limit event 47, and he ends up winning the tournament. The floor man comes over and asks him to take the winner's photo in the tournament, and he refuses. I think he made it. He got.
He had tweeted, I think, even before the tournament started, that like, I'm not going to do any media.
Right.
I'm not going to, I'm not going to do any interviews with PokerStars, or I'm not going to do anything beyond the bare minimum because he's mad at PokerStars over the VIP Supernova Elite change.
He's a Supernova Elite.
Right.
He feels that the changes, like a lot of people, weren't, communicated properly to all the people and in a timely fashion. We've talked about it a lot.
Well, I mean, if you asked him, he would think that money was stolen from him, right? So that's sort of like the continuum of views is sort of going from, well, we communicated poorly, and that's sort of the star side of it. The player's side of it is saying, like, you're screwing us, right? So, I mean, Justin clearly, understandably, falls on that side, and he says, like, I'm not doing anything for this company beyond what I have to, but I'm still going to play in this tournament because I'm a professional poker player, and that's what I do.
He made a deal, and he wasn't the chip leader. So he made a deal where he got some money, less money, but he got the title.
Yeah, and the
because
trophy.
he wanted to make a point.
Right.
So he got the title, the trophy, less money. I don't know if he gave up money for the title or not. He wanted to make a point where he didn't, and this is his tweet, we did a deal where I get 110K and he gets 120K. Part of the deal is that I get the trophy and the win, which I really wanted, so I can say fuck you to Amaya and refuse to do a winner photo. And so there's a tweet a little bit later where he comes back and says, the floor man says they won't pay me if I don't do the photo. So he makes up a sign that says, and he writes this out in a big sign, they say they won't pay me unless I take this photo. Supernova Elite PokerStars stole $50,000 from me. So they don't end up taking the picture.
Yeah.
And then he posts an update later saying, they say they would never not pay, but I'm banned from all PS Live, PokerStars Live events if I don't take the photo.
Right.
So, I mean, I totally understand what he's saying. He's a Supernova Elite. He played that 1 year with the intention of playing the next year on the
with an expectation
multiplier.
Yeah.
50,000's his expectation for that year that he should have got. I get that why he's upset, and I agree with the fact that it was poorly done. But here you are signing up to a PokerStars event. You're going there. Before the event that winners get photos. That's part of the whole thing. They're using it to drive more people to the tournament that you just won. Do you feel like it was a reasonable thing for him to do?
I think reasonable is fine. I mean, I certainly don't have any qualms with him doing it. I mean, I guess it comes down to when you enter the tournament. I mean, you do sign a bunch of stuff every time you enter the tournament. I don't know whether to what extent the obligations are covered, whether you're required to take a photo. Obviously, like, they can't make him do interviews and stuff. I mean, they could, if they wanted to, but it wouldn't be a very good idea.
Probably not.
Let's interview this guy who really doesn't want to be interviewed. Is probably a bad idea. I mean, I think it's an aggressive stance. I mean, I don't know if I would be out there, taking this stance. I still feel strongly that players were very much wronged. We've talked about this on the show, and I applaud him for standing up to what he believes in, but it's really it's pretty aggressive. I mean, and he shouldn't. I guess the key is Justin shouldn't feel like he has a right to play these events because they can exclude anybody that they want. And I think it would actually be reasonable for stars to exclude, to bar him from tournaments if he wants to try to run their name through the mud, right? Like, and I think that's fine. I think both parties are in the right here, right? Like, Justin is well within the right to make a political protest and say, I'm not going to take the photo, or I will take the photo and I'm going to also badmouth you.
Yeah.
And they have the right to say, okay, you're not welcome to play in our tournaments anymore. So you made your bed, and that's going to hurt Justin. And I'm sure he's very much aware of that because he's a very bright guy. That his livelihood could be affected by not being able to play in these live tournaments, which he does very well in. So Yeah, I mean, I think the stance from Justin is reasonable. I think the stance from Stars is reasonable. Obviously, if it's ever true that they said they wouldn't pay him, I mean, I think it's unlikely that they would ever. I don't think that was ever going to happen. No. They can't do that. No. But I mean, they're probably going to revise their conditions of entry so that it says, okay, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and you can't talk shit about us, and whatever it is that their lawyers let them get away with, and then so the next time that this happens, it probably won't be a thing.
Won't be an issue. Moving on. In case you missed it, there was an article written this week that I thought was interesting about the GPL. We're a month into the GPL. They're slowly building an audience. It's actively followed by many people on Twitter. I'm seeing a lot of updates come through.
Yeah, I haven't to be really taking
watched
off.
A ton of it. I watched some of it, but I haven't watched a ton of it. Hoping that it continues to be successful. There was an interesting article that was written that should there be drug testing in the GPL? And when I first read that, I just laughed. I'm like, what? Why would there ever be drug testing? And then I thought more about it. Given that Alex Dreyfus is trying to move away from this thought that this is a poker event, more it's an esport event. You look at esports, and they do have drug testing for
right.
a lot of the guys. So it doesn't.
Well, there's a reason for that. I mean, esports, like, you can gain a significant advantage from certain types of nootropic drugs and various, brain-enhancing drugs that much in a similar way that performance-enhancing drugs, might allow you to run faster or lift more weight in the Olympics. They also have dangerous long-term consequences. So the sort of thought process behind this is well, if we don't want a bunch of our athletes dropping dead of heart attacks at age 37 or something like that, then we should probably try our best to police this. And I guess that's the same idea that happens in esports, is that you don't. You want a quote unquote level playing field, and two, you don't want to people to harm themselves in the pursuit of winning.
Yeah.
Right. So
I wonder if people would, I think a lot of people would probably, because it does harm to their reputation if they're involved in the GPL, they do testing, and they get caught, doing stuff they shouldn't have been doing. I don't know exactly how it would be reported if this person failed or what he failed for, whatever. But do you think there's a lot of players out there, A, using them, and B, would say, no, I'm not going to be a part of the GPL if that's the case?
I guess I'd have to look at the rosters again and kind of take a closer look to see who I think might be. I mean, it depends what they're testing for. If they're testing for pot, then probably 40% of the roster. I
can't imagine they would. That's not going to help.
Yeah, no. I mean, but and the thing is, at least a third of the roster is going to be at least an occasional pot.
You're going to eliminate a large portion.
That's. I mean, all you have to do is kind of stand outside the parking lot at the Rio to know that. I don't know. I don't know a lot about the drugs that the poker players take, whether it's Adderall or other sort of attention-enhancing drugs.
I would think that's probably what they're...
Yeah, I don't have a real strong feeling about it. I mean, I think we're pretty far away from that. I don't think the vast majority of poker players are using serious performance-enhancing drugs with really bad long-term consequences. And then I also don't think I also don't think that the public in general gives a shit whether a bunch of people smoke pot and in their spare time, as long as they're not clearly stoned while they're playing poker and just blankly staring off the space and have no idea what's going on.
Also, the GPL isn't changing anybody's lives financially, so they're not obligated. They would be fine, I'm not going to change the way I live my life for you.
Right. Exactly. There's a sort of alliance between the poker players and the GPL right now, which is the GPL is asking the players to make a leap of faith, right? Come here, play in our events. We're not going to pay you that well for it, as we've discussed this kind of phony $100 an hour thing. We're not going to pay you that well for it, but you're going to get exposure. You're going to help us expose this league, and maybe one day this will be a big deal, and a rising tide floats all boats, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you can't ask people to change their lives and invest. With esports, it's different because it's pretty much the main avenue for these guys to make a living.
That's the end game
exactly.
for them,
You want to be that dude in Korea playing in front of 70,000 people, and then when you win, you get your own branded mouse, and you get all these sponsorship deals and so on. Then we're not remotely at that stage with the GPL right now.
No,
so that's a good point.
You don't want a Mustafa Kennett branded mouse?
That'd be right.
It would help.
A run good mouse.
Big mustache. It would be shaped like a mustache.
In case you missed it, we are a couple days away from Scoop 2016 over at PokerStars. This is Terrence's favorite tournament event over at Stars, I'm sure. A lot of people's.
It's the only one that I'm in the right time zone for at the right time.
That's right. The format's fantastic. Everybody loves the 3 different levels for each game format, each game discipline. So it's my favorite one as well every year.
Definitely. My favorite time of year to grind stars.
To get on there and play some MTTs. Why don't we bring in the man behind Scoop, the innovator, the creator of this Scoop series, Mr. Bryan Slick. Bryan, welcome back to the Pokercast.
Hey guys, good to talk to you.
3 days away, as I mentioned, Bryan. 55 events. This is the biggest Scoop ever, I understand?
Absolutely. We've never run a series this big of any kind. I mean, W-Coop was 70 events, but that's 70 tournaments. This Scoop's 55 events, but it's 165 tournaments. So quite a lot of targeting going on in terms of satellites. There's pretty much a satellite every couple of minutes right now, and that's only going to intensify as things go on.
What do you mean? I mean, I know you probably can't answer this question in complete detail, but just in terms of the site metrics, the switch from, obviously there's, daily schedules and stuff for MTTs, but everybody, cash game players, this motivates a lot of people to come over and play tournaments. It must be this sort of big, giant shift in the economy over just within the website.
I suppose. To be honest with you, all the majority of the insight I have on that is how well the tournaments do. I'm in such a frenzy during the Scoop time period, just keeping track of the tournaments and making sure that they're running, that I don't really have a lot of insight into how Scoop impacts, the ring games, for example. When we were smaller and when our department was smaller, when, in 2007, 8, 9, when PRM was 5, 6, 7 people,
yeah.
I might have had more insight into something like that. But the site has grown exponentially since then. The series has grown. I mean, 2009, Scoop was 22 events.
Right.
And now it's 55, at least for now. And, so it's, like I said, things have just grown to such an extent that I need to keep my focus where it is. Like I said, I've got 165 events to target, and then you've got the deadline satellites, and they need to be targeted, and then now we run pretty much anything that costs more than $5 or $6. That also gets satellites to it. So we have satellites to satellites to satellites, and it's just a massive network of things. Basically, if you've got a dime, you can
get your way in. I can't imagine scheduling that kind of tree of qualifying tournaments and regular main events. I mean, to try and set that up properly and timing, every one has got to be this massive undertaking.
I've learned a lot of Excel in the last 9 years.
Yeah, I guess.
Never took a class. I probably should have, but learned an awful lot of Excel in the last 9 years, and it's been very useful to have done so.
All right, let's talk about some of those 55 events, Bryan. The one thing I noticed off the top, there is some positioning of some of the niche events on the weekends that you're putting in between the big no-limit hold'em fields to try and motivate people to jump in. It's difficult. Some of the the no-limit draw, Badoogie, some of these events that, if you run them during the week around mixed games, you're probably not going to get a big field, but there seemed to be an undertaking by Stars this year to go ahead and drive traffic to these things.
Yep. Actually, yeah, Scoop initially wasn't going to be 55 events. It was somewhere in the 40s. And one of the things that was going to happen was those niche events were going to go away. We were looking at the traffic and deciding which events we were going to cut, and it was going to be the draw tournaments that were going to go. Around version 4, version 4A, and version, I think, 5, the draw events were not on the schedule. Kicked this around with various people, posters on 2+2, players in email, players that I speak with often and on Skype or other conversations. And we decided that one of the ways we could perhaps keep them alive and maybe even improve them was to go ahead and stick them in between really popular tournaments, give them their own niche in between, tournaments on the weekends. And this was actually an idea from Luke, who handles our main schedule.
Sure.
And he says, why don't we take them and put them in between really popular stuff, and maybe they'll do well there. So they survived, and at that point I said to my boss, I said, well, I don't want these things to take up existing slots. Why don't we create new slots and we'll just grow the series? And so that's how Scoop grew to 55 events. And so now like you see, we've got them in these 1230 and 1300 slots on the weekends. And it's actually been kind of an interesting thing, because as the discussion went on, players have suggested putting other things in those slots and moving those games. And I've said, no, these are the only 5 tournaments or 5 events on the schedule that they can't move. Whatever's there, those events are staying there. They cannot move. They're there because specifically in those slots exist for those tournaments. If those tournaments weren't there, those slots wouldn't exist. So
Brian, I actually think this is actually a really interesting development, because I think it's a really good spot. Obviously, Scoop has always been a good tournament for players who are new to getting into a game. So, because of the smaller buy-in opportunity. So even if you're not a, Badoogie or player or a Raz player, you can get into and end up getting to the low one without hitting your bankroll too hard. But one of the nice things about this is if you are actually a specialist in this game, you'll probably have a higher than normal EV if it's on a Saturday or a Sunday, and you're getting all the no limit players going in there thinking like, oh well, I mean, I'm just busted out of the big no limit tournament that I was playing.
I'm playing Badoogie.
But they're googling the rules for the Badoogie online, and
right.
Whatever. Like what is this, like no limit 5-card draw? What? How is that? What's happening? Yeah. So it seems like it's really interesting. So it kind of it does seem to be beneficial not only for people who want to give this a shot, but people who actually know what they're doing. It's
mostly beneficial for Jason Mercier.
It's largely every poker in general is.
He won 3 watches last year. It'll be interesting to see how he does with more than 50 events on the schedule this year. He's eventually going to make himself a belt out of watches.
But it's interesting. We got no limit draw. These are the events we're talking about. No limit draw, Badoogie, triple draw, deuce to 7. 7-card stud surprised me a bit, given that it's one of the old standby game that maybe isn't played a ton, but it's certainly a tournament game. And no limit deuce, which is my favorite game to play. But the stud one surprised me. The people just don't like to play it as much anymore.
Stud traffic is, I wouldn't say steadily declining, because it's going down really, really slowly, but it is going down. Of the stud variants, stud high is the weakest of the 3.
Okay.
I think, if I remember correctly, Raz is the most popular, and stud high low is the second most, and then stud is the least popular, which is really amusing to me because there's an old joke about the guys at Gitmo were offered a choice: stay at Gitmo or play Raz, and you see how full Gitmo is. But
people just don't want to remember up cards. That's what I'm gathering from that.
Too much information.
People are just lazy and they don't want to have to remember up whether their pair is live or not. Like in Raz, obviously you still have to track the dead up cards, but it's not nearly as big a deal as it is in stud.
Indeed, you got to track the lower ones. Yeah. Event 13, Brian, the Player's Choice event. This was a poll. Can you explain how this Player's Choice event came together?
Yeah, this was actually a lot of fun. This I think the most fun I've had prepping a series in years. And it's really interesting how it came about. It actually came about from one idea that I had in version 1 of the schedule being killed. The original idea for this was event 15 in version 1 of the schedule. And the original idea I had on the schedule was final table only, paid, no deals permitted.
Wow.
And basically, of the Scoop planning team, the only person that liked it was me. So we kicked it around, and I said, we deal this in the regular schedule, and everybody's just like, yeah, we can't have this in Scoop. I said, all right, fine, fair enough. I just wanted a different variant. And so while we're discussing it, and because basically what it was, we had room for another no limit game, and it wasn't going to be vanilla in that spot. And I said, and we couldn't come to an agreement on what it was we were going to put in that slot. And so while we're in the conversation, I said, I've got an idea. Why don't we leave it up to the players? And everybody immediately said, that's a fantastic idea. Let's do it. So I real quickly put together a format for how we would do it. And we put an announcement out to the players in email, on the site, and of course, 2+2. And players nominated the tournaments that they would like to play, in format, players per table, that sort of thing.
Sure.
The only thing that they knew was the price of the tournament and the fact that it would be no limit hold'em.
Okay.
That was one thing we did restrict it to, was that it would definitely be no limit hold'em. Looking back, maybe we should have opened it up to whatever game, but I just figured that in the short span of time that we had to set the schedule, because at the time we only had a week, in the short span of time we had to set the schedule, I didn't want to run the risk of having 200 nominations, each with 2 people nominating it, and then we wouldn't have a clear choice. So I winnow it down by making it definitely no limit hold'em. And so there was like a 3 or 4 day nomination period. Once the nominations came in, there were, I think, about 8 or 9 top nominations. And I put the Scoop lobby out there into the PokerStars client, split it up into a voting booth for low, medium, and high, and put tournaments in these voting booths, each one representing a potential tournament for Event 13 at that stakes level. And they cost $750, $82, and $700 to register, and you could only register for one. So that was how you voted, was by registering for the tournament of your choice.
Gotcha.
Much to my surprise, and again, something I should have stated as a qualifier, a Hyper Turbo one for the low. That generated quite a bit of...
Why did that surprise you?
Well, I just... It's something I probably should have anticipated, because recreational players love to play really, really fast. But it's probably something, looking back, that I should have disqualified. And I'm absolutely sure that we'll do a Player's Choice event in W Cup. We might even do 2. And I think I'll probably disqualify Hyper Turbo from it. But I will say I did one caveat. If you look at the structure for Event 13 low, yeah, it's a Hyper Turbo, but it's very much a Scoop Hyper Turbo. It's not going to be over in an hour. It may not even be over in 2 hours. In an event in the medium, 8-max progressive knockout one. It's not a progressive super knockout. It's a progressive knockout with, I believe, 20% knockout, maybe 25. I can't remember right off the top of my head. And then an event in the high, just a straight no limit hold'em progressive super knockout one. It was really interesting to me because in the forums, everybody was predicting that for the low, just a straight vanilla no limit hold'em would win. And in the medium, I think they predicted that as well, just vanilla would win, and vanilla wasn't even close to winning any of the votes. I mean, almost nobody voted for it. So,
do you have an idea of why people chose knockout tournaments, progressive knockout tournaments?
Well, I mean, when you look at the play on the site, knockouts are far and away the most popular thing we deal. People absolutely love them. And I can tell you, if you pick a tournament on the schedule that's not a knockout and let it play for 2 weeks, let's say it averages 1,000 players, and the following Monday I change it to a knockout, it'll have 1,500 players.
Is that right?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way it is, and I don't know how long it's going to continue, but it's been this way for a while now. And I'm sure that there's a tipping point, where we could have too many. And we try and avoid that sort of thing. I mean, I don't, because I don't manage the main schedule. But, I mean, I do concern myself with it in the championship series. I don't want to have too many. And it is something I try to avoid. But there is a balance there, and the people do absolutely love them. So we'd have to make sure that we have enough of them, even while we're hearing from people, no, you have too many knockouts. But the players just, like I said, one of the things about the Player's Choice event that I thought was interesting was people were saying we need more vanilla in Scoop. So I put the Player's Choice event out, and all these people were saying we need more vanilla, had their opportunity to directly insert one into the series. And
right.
Nobody did.
Not as popular. The high is a $700 no limit hold'em progressive super knockout, and I'm guessing people thought that the higher buy-in might be a Hyper Turbo.
I think some people thought that, but it wasn't even in the nominations.
Oh, okay.
The only nomination series that even got close for Hyper Turbo was the low, and actually that one I think it was the most popular nomination was the Hyper Turbo.
Cool. So
and the voting for the Hyper Turbo was far and away number one. It won by almost 200 votes, if I remember right.
Event 24. This in the past, all the high rollers have been heads-up events. This is an 8-max high roller, Event 24, 215 low, so real big buy-in for the low, medium 2100, high 21,000.
The low buy-in high roller. I like that. Possibly the first tournament in history called a low buy-in high roller.
Well, we have them every scoop with the heads up. I mean, it's a high roller for low players. $215 is a high roller. I mean,
or it's a small buy-in for high, or it's a small buy-in for high rolling.
For high rollers,
yeah.
I suppose in an ideal world, what we do is figure out who the low players are, and keep the medium players and the high players out of their high roller. But we can't do that. So, but yeah, this was
this is a daily fantasy sports.
Popular. Right. This is one of the biggest requests we had in the feedback series, and so we found room for it on the schedule, and I hope it'll do really well. I expect it to do really well. It's on May 14th in a really good prime slot, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll look for
that.
One
thing I'm really excited about is day one. I don't know if you guys have looked at the schedule in detail, but we have work on this Sunday coming up. We have the biggest day one in the history of PokerStars.
Wow.
If you look at the schedule at first glance, it looks like we have 5 events, but we actually have 6 events on this day one, because you consider day 1A of event 51 is also on this Sunday.
Right.
So we have 6 events on this day one, at... what is it, at 8, 9:30, and 11, 12:30, 14:30, and 1700. So it's going to be a busy, busy, busy day.
Yeah, I'm wondering, looking at Event 51, I'm wondering what happens when you guys run out of letters of the alphabet, basically. Because you're already at day 1Z.
Yeah, well, for the low, we went up to day 1AG.
AG, there you go. Event 30, pot limit mixed Omaha, which I hadn't seen before. This is a mix of 6-max turbo and zoom, pot limit Omaha and pot limit 5-card Omaha. Do you think people are going to take to this format?
I think it'll be interesting. The mixed Omaha was just is something interesting that we haven't had in a championship series before. We dealt a few trials of it. People seem to like it. I know people like the 5-card Omaha quite a bit, and we saw it on the schedule, on the list of available games, and we dealt it out there a few times, and people seem to really enjoy it. So we decided to change up the Zoom event a little bit and put it out there. There was one thing I was kind of wondering about, because we did deal this event last year as just straight PLO, 6-max turbo Zoom. And so when we changed it to mixed Omaha, I was trying to decide whether I should list the people who won the straight PLO as event champions for last year, and I couldn't make up my mind. In the end, I didn't list them and just listed 2015 champion as NA because it's a new event. But I don't know.
I'm looking forward to the future true mixed Omaha, which would be Omaha High Low, PLO8, every form of Omaha,
limit Omaha.
Yeah, exactly. All the structures. So
no limit Omaha.
Exactly. So it'd actually be like a 12-game mix.
That would be
between 4-card Omaha, 5-card Omaha, Courchevel, which is technically Omaha, and pick fixed limit and pot limit.
I have been campaigning with our developers for
have you?
For true mixed games, in terms of where we can decide by level what game we want to deal. And the only thing it would say in the game tab is just mixed. And then you'd have to look at the structure to see what's being dealt for years. And it's not that they're not willing to do it, it's just there's lots of stuff on the list, and
I just like tournaments where the primary skill is remembering what game it is. That's where I feel I'm the most drawing live in that, because I'm not actually good at poker anymore, but I'm pretty good at paying attention
what game
to stuff.
You're playing.
Yeah.
It reminds me of my time at the World Series cash games when you go hunt the tables where you can see if you find the most drunks.
Yeah,
right.
At 2:30 in the morning, right?
The guy who doesn't know what game it is.
Being the only sober guy at a table full of drunks. Hey, table selection. It's part of the game.
Event 45, No Limit Hold'em, 3 max. Zoom. It's a turbo progressive knockout Zoom. This reminds me of, it doesn't remind me. This lets me believe that the lottery spin and go type format is quite popular, and hopefully people will take to it in tournament format.
I didn't even make that connection, but yeah, of course. That's what three-handed is now.
Yep. There's this one event that I plan to watch as much of it as I can, because this looks like a lot of fun. One of the things about writing these series is, some of the events, you look at them and you write them and you're looking at the script while you're doing it, and you're like, man, I wish I could play.
Right.
This is one of them, because this looks like so much fun. I mean, it's a knockout, it's a turbo, the action's going to be going really quickly, and every hand, there's going to be 2 new people coming up with bounties on their heads, and if somebody pops up at your table, say you've got a nice fat stack of like 50,000 chips, and the next hand somebody pops up at your table, they just suffered a big beat, they've got 50 chips left and $2,000 on their head. You're going to be drooling.
Yeah.
But it's going to be so much fun to watch that tournament. I can't wait to watch it play out. Like I say, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it'll be really, really popular. And if it is, I expect to see it in W Coop. But we'll see.
Let's go on to the main event. Bryan, this is first of all, they're rounded buy-ins for the first time. It's usually like $10,000 to $300, whatever the juice ends up being, $1,100. This year, the low's $100, medium's $1,000, high's $10,000. What was the process there?
Well, we've done that for one specific reason, which is we're going to be running spin and go satellites to the main events.
Okay.
And in order to do that, we needed the buy-ins to be rounded so that we can run a single spin and go that will award tickets to any of the main events. Also, it's one of the things we've talked about doing in the past. I think it just looks nicer in the client.
Right.
I think it's probably something we should have done previously. It's also made the megapath targeting a lot simpler. Especially now that we've gone to Star Coins. I mean, Star Coins satellites just work better than FPP satellites ever did. I don't know if you noticed, we have 3 megapaths running this year, 1 to each main event, and they are flying off the shelves in terms of popularity. Sit and goes will actually be starting for those in the next couple of days, and so they'll get even more players in them than they've had so far already. So it'd be really, really good.
Driving a lot of traffic. Hopefully, one day one of the guys who wins his way in with 1 coin will take one of these down.
We've had close to that. I think, was it Meritic that got in for 40 FVP? And
was it?
Won $1 million.
Crazy.
The guy said, "I want $1 million."
Oh, I want $1 million. That was Meritic. He did that. 100,000 is the guarantee for the low main event. 300,000 guaranteed for the middle. Oh no, sorry. That's first place. It's $1 million prize pool guarantee. 100,000 guaranteed for first place in the low. $2 million guaranteed prize pool. 300,000 to the champion in the medium. $4 million and $1 million to the champion guaranteed. Big, huge prize pools. That main event, I think, is going to be an amazing spectacle once again.
Mm-hmm.
3 days too.
Yeah, the final table starts on the 24th of May. And 14:30 Eastern for each one. Should be really exciting for everybody.
Lots of play.
And really looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll have 23rd of May. I think we'll have 12 tournaments in play at the time.
Crazy. Busy day. $40 million guaranteed over the whole series. Is that? I'm trying to remember what the guarantee was last year. Pretty close.
I believe it was 40. It was $40 million precisely guaranteed last year, but this year it's over $40 million, which gives us some flexibility, to more precisely guarantee things. It also gives us a bit more flexibility in terms of other things. Like I just mentioned, May 23rd. That we'll have 12 tournaments with day 2 playing, and that gives us an opportunity for a lot of people to be watching a lot of day 2 play.
Okay.
But It's one of the things we were talking about today, and the people in our apartment said, we have all this stuff, people watching. Day 2. Scoop is running strong on May 23rd, but people are watching. They're just watching. Why aren't they playing? And so we decided today that on May 23rd, they will be playing. Keep your eyes on the client over the next few days for details on Event 56.
Event 56. Any? Can you give us a taste?
I don't know anything at all about the format at the moment. We haven't decided. I just know that there will be one.
Okay.
Like I say, there's more to follow. I don't have anything to offer other than that right now because, there will be an official release in the date materials and whatnot. We'll have to send the mailer out in the next couple of days that shows the full schedule with 55 events. And, honestly, that, right now, that's not accurate. But it takes time to prepare all those materials and stuff like that, and we're going to have to update it with the new materials and whatnot. So basically, this decision was literally just made today. So we've got to set the format, we've got to decide on the format, we've got to decide on the buy-in, we have to decide what time, all that sort of stuff. But the one thing we have decided is that with so much action taking place on Monday, May 23rd, with people being so interested in Scoop and people having so much to watch, we've decided the one thing that we should be doing that with all this action going on is that we should also be giving people something to play. So there will definitely be a Scoop event on May 23rd.
All right, look for an announcement coming up soon. We did mention the main MTT schedule. We talked about it last week. The changes in the MTT schedule at Stars, changing the time zones around the world to reflect more when people are playing these things and motivating more people to go play some of those signature events. What's your overall take on the new MTT schedule?
My personal opinion on the new schedule overall is that it's not my responsibility anymore, and it hasn't been in a long time. I handed over the main schedule to Luke 18 months ago or thereabouts, maybe a little less than that. I did so with the full knowledge, in my opinion, that I was handing it over to somebody with a lot of passion, a lot of drive, and a really strong vision for taking the main schedule that I had worked on very hard for 6, 7, 8 years and just continuing to make it the best schedule in poker, period. And nothing has happened in the last year and a half to change my opinion on that one iota. One of the things I wanted to talk about in this discussion, and Adam and I talked about this before the interview, is some of the feedback that's been on 2+2 in the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to deviate from, my usual perspective on stuff like this in the public eye. But fortunately, I cleared it with my boss before this call started. I want to say to the people out there who react to changes that they don't like with venom, particularly personally aimed at employees, that you're not doing any harm to the people who are in the public eye. Anybody who takes a paycheck to maintain a public presence of any kind, whether it's a professional poker player like Terrence. I'm sure you've taken plenty of vitriol in your time in the public eye, or whether it's an employee of a site like myself or like Luke, or a professional athlete or somebody like that. We've all developed very thick skins by now. You can say what you like, and you're pretty much not going to penetrate. You're not going to do any damage. But when you're in a public forum and you spew venom and just pour negativity into the forum, you make the discussion an unpleasant place to be. You make the thread an unpleasant place to be for everyone.
Unproductive.
And it's not it's not that it's harmful to the people that are there to gain feedback from the posters. It's that it creates an environment where people who would have positive things to say, not positive, it creates an environment where people who would have useful contributions to make don't want to speak up because they don't want to dive into the mud with everybody else. I can't tell you how many times over the years I've gotten private messages and emails and, even Skype messages and things like that with somebody saying, hey, I had this thing to say about this thread. Here's my feedback. I just didn't want to post it in the thread because there's so much negativity that I don't want to participate. And to my way of thinking, when a thread deteriorates to that level, the posters who are contributing that level of negativity are honestly they're engaging in self-harm. Because ostensibly the thread exists so that the representatives can gain feedback from the community to help improve whatever it is the representatives are there to discuss with the community. And if certain posters make the thread such a negative place that people who have contributions to make are unwilling to participate, that hurts everybody. It doesn't hurt the site by people saying, oh, you've done this and you've done that and we hate you. That doesn't hurt the representatives. I mean, we hear it all the time. We hear it when we're doing wonderful things. We hear it when we're doing terrible things in the poster's eyes. We don't ever set out to do terrible things. But it's just, and I've heard it from moderators and whatnot who are making really strong efforts to try and change things in some of these threads. And I really admire them. Posters like, I don't know how you say his name, but ASJBAAAF. It's making really strong, positive contributions in MTTC to try and get control of the negativity. And I really, really admire him for doing that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it needs to change because, we wade through it and we look for the feedback that is really useful and will help. But it's not for me and it's not for any of us to tell these posters, look, we're not going to listen if you're negative, because that's not the case. We're always listening. I will wade through a million negative lines to find the one nugget that will help Scoop, for example. I'll always do that. I have found useful ideas in 50 lines of hatred. But like I said, my biggest concern is when somebody out there who has a great idea that could help everyone is silent because they don't want to get involved. That hurts everyone, and that's why the negativity needs to really be toned down, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I've screed for enough on this subject.
No, I agree. I think I was in there in that thread as well, and people calling Luke names, given that he's doing his job to do what he's got to do, it's not productive, and that's a tricky balance. Sometimes you obviously don't want personal attacks and things like that, but the moderation is the key there as well.
One of the things we didn't touch on, real quick, if I
sure.
can mention, is event 47. It's the MixMax tournament.
Yep.
It's one of the things we're actually really quite excited about because we've been wanting to run a MixMax tournament for years, and we haven't had the capability to do it developmentally, in a single tournament. But now that we have phase technology, in a phase tournament, you don't have to deal the same players per table in one phase as in the next. So the way that we're doing it, phase 1 is 9 max, and then phase 2 is 6 max. But there's only one phase 1, so we're not even labeling them as phases. It's, part 1
sure.
is 9 max and part 2 is 6 max. So really looking forward to that. Apart from that, like I said, we've got event 51 is really looking big, and just overall, it's looking to be an enormous series. Really excited about it. on the previous stuff we were talking about, like I said, I hope it didn't sound too preachy. It's just one of those things. I've been an online administrator in one way or another for about 20 years now, and I just hate to see any community get to a point where the people who are there for a good, positive contribution aren't able to contribute for one reason or another. Because, like I say, we're there specifically because we want the feedback. We're not there for our health. We go to the forums because I've always said this for 9+ years. We don't just listen to feedback from our players. We depend on it, and so when we go there, I mean, I absolutely love a good, healthy, strong, positive discussion with the players. It makes my day when there's a list of posts where people are contributing back and forth. Like Event 51 is a great example of this. We had a poster by the name of Ledders, Ledders, who pointed something out that really, really needed to change. And to be honest, in the first round and second round and third round of review of Event 51, I just completely missed it. And he pointed it out, and it was pretty serious. And his post spurred me to take another look at it. And it was really polite. It wasn't, like, I can't think of the right word that's polite, but it wasn't, smoochy or anything like that. It was just polite, courteous.
Right.
And so it spurred me on to take a look at it. And I took a look at the issue, and wow, he was really right. And so I wrote back and I said, you've really had an impact on the series. Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's how it should be.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what you're looking for, that positive contribution. And maybe it's not doing anybody any good to jump in and call people names. Totally agree with you, Bryan.
Yeah, really gets them when the posters start going after each other. I'm like, you know each other. You're pixels on a screen. Why are you going after each other?
Well, hopefully, that's a very small minority, I think, of people who enjoy a series like Scoop. So this year, I know you guys are going to blow everything out of the water, and that'll be for long forgotten, I'm sure. Bryan, thanks so much again. Really appreciate your time, and have a good series.
Yipper. Hope to see you guys at the final table.
All right.
Not that I have anything to do with it.
We'll try.
We'll try. Yeah. Thanks, Bryan.
Take care.
In case you missed it, PokerCentral, the 24-hour television network, I don't know if it's television, streaming video network, let's call it, offered a $1 million free roll, I guess you call it, for people who can correctly guess the final table in order of the upcoming Super High Roller Fantastic Bowl Challenge that's going on. This is the $300,000 tournament they're having at the Aria. It was $500,000 to enter last year, $300,000 this year. They're sold out at $49,000. PokerCentral is streaming the tournament, and they've offered $1 million to anybody who can go on their website, fill out build a database for them, fill out your email address, enter a guess on who's going to finish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at the Super High Roller Bowl Challenge. It's called the MVMT, $1 Million Final Table Challenge. MVMT, I like their last album. This was good.
They're also a watch company that advertises on other podcasts.
Yeah, but that's probably why they're probably the sponsor. But my favorite quote is from the CEO of PokerCentral, and this is a quote from, "It's a simple contest," said Clint Stinchcombe, CEO of PokerCentral. "Just predict the players, make the final table in order they finish, and win $1 million." And I've been to some horse races in my life, and when I watch,
have you been to any 45 horse races? How many people are
49?
49. Yeah, you've been to a 49 horse race?
I haven't. I've been to a 10.
You've never hit the pick 7 at a 49 horse race?
Exactly where I'm going.
So this is like picking 7 at Keno, basically.
Well, no. Because in Keno, the order doesn't matter.
You got to get them in order. It's not.
Right.
It's not quite as simple as you. It's. I can't imagine. I'm not going to do the math. I haven't seen anybody do the math. The the insurance. So what happens typically is when companies offer this type of promotion, they go out and buy insurance for this happening, hole-in-one competitions, such like that. So I was trying to guess the amount that they would have to pay the insurance on this $1 million bet, and I'm thinking it had to be in the hundreds of dollars. I don't think
too much. Yeah, like I don't think whatever it is, it's too much.
I mean, the chances are ridiculously astronomical that this would ever happen. However, it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's generating buzz. We're talking about it. Other people are talking about it. We're laughing at it a bit, I guess, but still the awareness is built, and they're probably building a decent database from people going and putting in their entries.
Right. It's cheap publicity. It's sort of like I said.
What was your quote on Twitter?
Twitter is like, I'm offering $1 trillion to anybody who tells me the exact number of electrons in the universe. Like, because that's about what we're dealing with here. 49. So quick math here. Like 49 choose 7. So basically, if you could
it was a Keno type 49.
If it was a Keno, so all you had to do was pick these 7 players at the final table, not in order.
Right.
That alone is $85.9 million to 1.
$85.9 million to 1
to not get
it's
them
in the trillions.
And then so what happens after? So what happens after that is you have to go. Okay, this guy finished the 7th. So you've got your 7 names. So introductory stats class. We'll leave it as a.
I feel like you should go out to promote All In or Knocked Out and say, screw the 7 in a row. If you do the 6 in a row of this tournament, you're going to give $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, because that's fine, because I'm not going to have to pay anybody. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, I guess there could be like a massive nuclear weapon detonates and kills all the players other than 7 at the final, and
you're still here. Yeah.
You
okay. What if there was only 7 people in the tournament?
7 times, 6 times, 5 times, 4 times, 3 times, 2 times. So whatever. So the math on. I'll leave it as a forum exercise. If you.
Oh God.
I mean, I know a lot of people in the forum know it. It's not actually. It's really easy math actually, but it's much bigger than $85 million to 1.
Yeah.
That's how big. That's how astronomical it is.
Speaking of the forum, last week was hurting.
What happened?
Just not many posts.
Yeah. What the heck, people? Come on, head on over to our forum. Talk about our show. We're feeling left out. We're pathetic. We're begging you now.
We'll give you $1 million if you can pick the first 7 posters that post first to 7 this week.
So an interesting thing about psychology that I've heard is that
the more you beg, the less the people do it.
No, that's possibly true. But people are so influenced, I guess, by social proof that it's much better to say that you have to go to the PokerCast forum because that's what's happening and everywhere. It's like people like to do where everybody else is doing. Like, for example, countries that have the highest compliance of people paying their income taxes is where when you survey people whether they think their neighbors are paying their taxes or whether they think that other people are paying taxes. So in Greece, nobody pays their freaking taxes because all Greek people think that everybody that they know is cheating on their taxes. Right. Whereas in other places, like say in Hong Kong is a place where like everybody
there's no
pays, tax. There's like a 16% flat rate and the tax code is 4 pages long, so that helps. But people tend to pay. So people tend to do the thing that
their neighbors do.
Yeah, exactly. That other people are doing. So let's rephrase that. Forget the thing that Adam said. Come on over to the PokerCast forum. You're missing out by not seeing how awesome. You're the last ones to know about how busy and active
our forum is. Yeah.
Pokercast.2plus2.com. Oh my God, I'm trying to get there now. The servers are jammed. It's a disaster. There's just so much going on. I can't scroll fast enough.
Cut out that last part that I was saying.
Yeah, that whole thing that
edit the hell out of that.
Edit that. That's
because that's not true. It's hustling and bustling.
Yeah, it's going crazy in there. It's hopping off.
In case you missed it, the Vice writer at Vice.com tried to live like Dan Bilzerian for a week. Now,
what was his budget for this from Vice? I mean, do they have more money than I'm aware of?
Well, it is. Well, I think it's Vice is worth over $1 billion now.
Vice is awesome, by the way. There's in Canada now we get the Vice channel. It's an entire channel of Vice content, which I could watch nonstop. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah, it's good Gonzo journalism.
It kind of, yeah. There's some good stuff too. But, there's definitely some gonzo stuff. Anyway, so one of the writers kind of took the piss in Dan Bilzerian and said, okay, let me try and live like this guy for a week. He went to the poker room and never played poker. There were some pretty funny anecdotes.
The funny line is, then I headed to the casino. I looked up how to play poker online. I learned that it's boring and it's complicated. But basically, it involves matching cards. Match cards, Match numbers, match card colors, match shapes, get money.
Colors and shapes, those are good
flushes. So he ends up going there. He goes to a strip club and lies around on a bunch of strippers and shoots some guns. Does he shoot guns?
Yeah, he goes and shoots guns. He takes some pictures on a private jet.
Yeah, he rents a private jet, but not renting. He just goes, hey, can I go, because it's on the tarmac. He's like, let me take some shots. And all. So he's lying around this and he basically at the end, I think a quote was, here it is. And after a week of Dan's life, I realized it's not even that great. For me, life mostly just feels like life, no matter what I'm doing. Sure, private jets are nice, but they're just pipes with wings. Laying in a small pile of strippers was nice, but they're just people. In the end, the whole thing was like planning a big trip to Europe. You just arrive and go, yep, it's an old church. What else? But Dan can't stop. He's an Instagram celebrity, and he's stuck on this big, meaningless, exhausting, eternally ungrateful treadmill. So after this long week, I can look past Dan Bilzerian's money and options and look straight to the goat in the background. Remember, Dan always has a goat, and I guess the goat's just kind of staring at him.
He brought a goat to work for a couple of days, too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I think there's some element of truth in it, is that, like, whatever...
a bit of bitterness, too, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to speculate on Dan. Maybe Dan's the most fulfilled dude in the world. I don't know him. I don't know anything about him. Ross will tell you a funny story about that in a second. about us trying to interview him in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
But the point is, I guess, like, whatever... No matter how crazy your life is, it just becomes the new normal, right? Like, no matter how much partying with strippers and coke that you do, that you're just like, this is normal. I mean, look at us. Like, we've both been in the poker world for basically our entire adult lives. Like, we've had like, you know, how many of your friends that are outside of the poker world have ever bet 4 digits on a sporting event, right? And to you, that's nothing. Yeah. Like, it's insignificant. Like, how many? But that's normal to us, and we live in this world that's normal. That's our normal. Bilzerian adds a couple zeros to things from us, but that doesn't. But the magnitude doesn't matter, right? Like, so what if he, bets $600,000 on stupid prop bets and blows a ton of money? Like, there are people who think our lives are super extravagant. Like, the truck that you drove here in, gets like 3 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
And like there are people who think that's probably insane because they're in Vietnam riding their bicycle for 30 miles to get to work or something like that. So I mean, whatever. There's a certain element of wisdom and understanding to this, but so like Dan Bilzerian, Ross, would you like to tell my slightly embarrassing Dan Bilzerian story?
So Dan was at the Olivier JC Alvarado fight, and I was just thinking, unfortunately, he didn't post on Instagram about it because that would have been good for us. People did more research on it. Anyways, so he's talking. I think he was talking to like the owner of the gym.
Yeah,
they must know each other. They were talking for a while, and I was like, oh, we should talk to Dan. And I'm like, Terrence, you want to interview him? I was a little nervous. I'm like, celebrity. So I'm like, we start walking up towards him. I'm like, that's him. Yeah, like maybe go ask him if you can talk to him. And Terrence just walks right past him to the next bearded guy.
I really didn't know. I was like, well, first I actually asked you. I was like, that's him, right? Like in the beard and the green T-shirt. And he goes like, yeah. Like, and then Ross gives me this look like, you idiot. Like, you don't know who. Like, you've been in poker for forever and you don't know who Bilzerian. And I was like, okay. And I'm just like, okay, I'm sorry. I know I sounded stupid there, but I just wanted to make sure. Like, I'm not that good with faces. Sometimes I screw these things up. And then like I just walk past actual Dan. So I go to and like Ross stopped. Like Ross is like slow motion going no. Like it just stops me from interviewing completely wrong.
I ended up talking to him, so that clip will show up in one of the next episodes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you did talk to him for a while?
Ross talked to him. So like we go up to him, and then like Ross just breaks into it. Like I was expecting to talk. I thought Ross was just gonna. I thought you were actually just gonna like hold the microphone there, and then I always start talking. But you just went after it. You just conquered your fears, and you're like, I'm gonna interview a celebrity now.
Yeah. He was nicer than I expected.
He was shorter than I expected. That's what threw me off. I thought he was tall.
Yeah.
So that's what threw me off. He's just big and muscular, but he's not tall.
And his legs are these skinny little penny. Well, he skips leg day, right? That's the big joke.
Yeah, there was a post about that on Instagram where he actually got his legs photoshopped to look super skinny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
People took that seriously, but
awesome.
He's filled out.
That's going to wrap it up for segment 1. We do have some more in case you missed it if we get some time in the third segment.
And if you'd like to learn PLO strategy, and I think there is some PLO tournament strategy on PLOquickpro.com. It is the only site with an entire suite of PLO courses designed by WSOP bracelet winner John Beaupre and 2015 5K PLO scoop winner Alien Slayer. Over the past few years, they've taught over 1,000 players how to master the fundamentals, increase their win rate, and move up in stakes for good. Whether you're a small or micro stakes grinder trying to become a winner for the very first time, or you're already a winning player and you're looking to make more money and move up in stakes, especially if you're a no-limit player and you're looking to make the transition to this great 4-card game, they've got videos, PDFs, tutorials, and all sorts of content to help you plug your leaks and look at the game in a new way. If you'd like to learn the guaranteed fastest way to master the fundamentals, increase your win rate, and move up in stakes for good, maybe win that mixed Omaha event, go to PLOquickPro.com/PokerCast to get your own personalized PLO curriculum. You can also reach out to John personally at john@PLOquickPro.com if you'd like to learn more.
Coming up after the break, we've got Rep Porter going to join us. We've got a lot of no-limit hold'em tournaments, whether it's Scoop, World Series of Poker. We're going to dive into some no-limit tournament strategy. We don't often talk about no-limit tournament strategy on this show, so we thought we'd bring in Rep. He is a contributor, content contributor over at the PokerAcademy.com. So he's gonna walk through some tournament strategy, no-limit hold'em tournament strategy, bullet points, and hopefully help everybody out for their all the big no-limit tournaments they're going to be playing up in the next little while. So you're listening to the 2+2 PokerCast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. More right after this.
6 max zoom 500, 230 big blinds deep. MP opens to 10 and I 3 bet 36 on the button with kings. He 4 bets small to 63 and I 5 bet 143 and flat his $222 6 bet. Pot is 450 with 1000 behind. He bets 555 on the 10-7-3 rainbow flop. And I think, too bad I'm not capable of folding in these spots as I shove, only to see him turn over ace-10 after calling. I hold for 500 big blind pot.
Team Pro Online's Mikhail Inasai-Shalamov is a supernova VIP. This is the 2+2 PokerCast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club.
Hey, poker fans, don't forget about the 2plus2.com digital magazine. Each month, a wide array of poker professionals and media write fascinating articles about the game you love. Want to learn about big blind versus small blind hand ranges? How about optimal Jeopardy daily double strategy? Topics like those and many others are covered every month. Head on over to 2plus2.com to see what the magazine has to offer this month. Attention everyone not named Alan Kessler. Have someone you would love to appear on the PokerCast? Have someone you don't want to hear again on the PokerCast? Head on over to the Suggest a Guest thread in the PokerCast forum at 2plus2.com, and Adam will do his best to make you happy. P.S. Chainsaw, you can post too.
Back to the 2+2 PokerCast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. Terrence, I just remembered something I wanted to ask you that I haven't asked you all. We're talking about this MMA fight with Olivier and JC Alvarado. How do you think you do against Olivier Busquet? Given that he's much heavier than you, but you have much more experience and skill probably. So this is a question because I want to know how much the weight difference really makes a difference, because I know your relative skill level and I know his, and I know the weight difference. So I'm curious as to your thoughts on how, if you had a fight right now against Olivier, how do you think it would go?
I mean, I think I would win, but I mean, I'm not certain I would.
Not 100% certain?
No.
Just because the size?
He's
hitting power?
Well, he's trained a lot, and yeah, definitely. Clearly, like, he's got some stopping power to him, so, you know. I mean,
nobody's asked you that yet?
Yeah, people ask me a lot.
Oh, have they? Okay, good.
Yeah, like I haven't answered on Twitter and stuff like that because, you know, I just don't think it's until it becomes a reasonable possibility. I don't want to waste too much thought.
Okay.
It, so.
Didn't mean to.
No, that's okay.
I was just curious.
I didn't think that's where you were going.
No,
I thought you were.
Took you by surprise.
You did.
Got you on that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to our feature guest. This is a man with 2 World Series of Poker bracelets. Finished 12th. I don't know if you remember this, T. He went on a deep run in 2013, the year Ryan Reese won the bracelet, and got a lot of TV time too, which was fun. We were all cheering for him. His name is Rep Porter. Rep, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That run in 2013 was fun to watch. Do you often go back and watch any of the videos on YouTube of the tournament, or are you just putting that one out of your mind?
I haven't watched them in a while. I watched all the telecasts that year with my wife and my 2 kids. They were all really excited to see it. And every once in a while, I peek back at old videos, but I haven't gone back to that one in a while.
It was full of some amazing hands. You played, in over 2 or 3 episodes, you played some really cool hands. One of them I remember, you shoved on a guy, and he inexplicably called with ace-deuce off. He called 10 times shove or something you went all in for. Called you with ace-deuce. Flop, you had pocket nines. The flop came ace-high. Turn bricked river 9, and you don't get more exciting than that in the World Series of Poker when you're down to 20 people. That kind of stuff, it's like a script was written.
That hand was pretty crazy, and that guy, he seemed like a really, really nice guy. He seemed like he hadn't had any experience in deep tournaments where play was slow once you got to significant money. It's I don't know how much you guys remember about playing like those little one-day tournaments, and you get to the end, and everyone's trying to knock each other out the last hour of the $150 buy-in tournament at the local casino or whatever, and everyone just has that mentality. It's my job to knock everybody out. And he seemed to develop that mentality when there were like 25 people left in the tournament or so. And he played several hands where he just called people because he looked like he could knock them out. The first level, our table started off like with the least chips. We had one guy with double-digit millions of chips. That guy, he had just over 10 million. And in the first level, he managed to run it up to 20 million. And I was talking to my cousin on the break, and he was like, "Man, I feel like James, should be taking better advantage with his chip lead, leaning on people." I'm like, "Dude, he had 10 million, he's got 20 million. It's like he's been doing fine, And then 55 minutes later, I don't know, Jesse Martin was standing there. He told me how long it was before he went from 20 million to 0 in one of the more epic giveaways.
Yeah, those are fun to watch. It's interesting you mentioned that. It does seem like a lot of times when people get down or tournaments get down to that level, that people really kind of, and they make the mistake of doing that. They think, I got to knock everybody out.
You know who doesn't have that problem? Mike Dentale.
No, he does not. He mucks when he's not supposed to. But
he doesn't have that problem.
But it does seem that way, right, Rep? It seems like people who maybe don't have enough experience or maybe take the aggression factor too far, they end up calling super light because, hey, I could knock this guy out.
Yeah, I think it's definitely absolutely the backwards mindset that permeates all like the lower limit casino type tournaments where there's only 6 people get paid, and you're just trying to win it. Everyone sets out with the goal of trying to win the tournament. And I suspect that there were, some good tournament players around, and they understood that you can win those tournaments being aggressive, being the better, but being the caller is just catastrophically bad. It's the whole ICM concept. You put the pressure on the opponent, they're supposed to have to give up, and you're supposed to, pick up value, and then when you're calling off, you have to have so much edge to be able to call off. And then, these guys get the idea that they're trying to knock people out, and they do it from the calling point of view instead of the aggressive point of view. And they don't understand the difference between the two.
Yeah, I wanted to. So picking up on that, I've often heard when players, a lot of times, particularly weaker players, but even some surprisingly strong players, describe a hand where they think it's a marginal spot, and they're facing a big call, and they say, well, I had more chips than him, so this was my opportunity to knock him out. Well, it didn't. That logic has never really made sense to me because you're at the same time that you're potentially knocking him out, you're also potentially doubling him up. So that's sort of never something that I've gotten to my head. Like, never really understood the logic behind that.
Yeah, I also, when I was first playing poker, I didn't really understand how ICM worked, and I used to be pretty aggressive at final tables. But I don't feel like I ever, called off in a spot that I thought was bad for the purpose of knocking somebody out. But I used to set out with the idea, I'm going to try to win this tournament as opposed to I'm going to sit here and let them do battle, and we'll see who wins this tournament later. And it's a very
it's a mindset that's super common in the lower stakes, and I think it just permeates a lot of poker. And I suspect it's starting to change as more and more stuff shows up on the internet, and the newer, younger players are a lot more educated when they come into the game. So I think that, over time that'll change. But I still think it's a pretty widespread belief, even among good players, that they have to go win when they're at the final table as opposed to being patient and letting it come to them.
Rep, the Poker World has a lot of tournaments coming up in the next little while. We just talked to Bryan Slick from Pokerstars, who's talking about Scoop. Many players around the world moving around, getting out of the U.S. to try and play this series. We've also got the World Series of Poker coming up, no-limit tournaments all over the place. So I thought what we'd do is bring you on and maybe give some tips, some stuff, talk about no-limit hold'em tournaments. We don't often do that on this show. So you up for that?
Sure.
And for those that don't know, Rep is a lead contributor over at PokerAcademy.com. You have a course over there that you have many modules in where you're talking about no-limit hold'em tournaments. So if anybody wants to check it out, we're going to just go through a few of the bullet points of the package here today with Rep. The first session, Rep, in your Poker Academy is talks about pre-flop play, and people getting a handle on where they should be opening and hand ranges in different spots. But the one thing I wanted to ask you about was your personal approach to raise sizing and how you go about deciding when you're opening a pot, when you're 3-betting. What are some of the things that you think about when you're raising pre-flop?
Well, so real quick, I want to point out our site is thepokeracademy.com.
Sorry, the poker, right.
You go to Poker Academy, get some defunct European site that they won't sell us. But
they're holding you hostage for the extra dollars.
Yeah, so they don't even respond.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Okay, I guess not.
I don't even know where to go when you sent them letters and emails. I think they don't even answer.
ThePokerAcademy.com.
Anyway, so yeah, when you're talking about how to size your best pre-flop, there's a lot of things that come into play, and I think the strongest one is what the current stack sizes are. When you're early in a tournament, if it can be right sometimes to open, like 5x. And I know when people do it in today's poker world, everyone looks at them like they're insane, but there's a couple reasons for that. You don't want everyone to speculate against you cheaply, because when you get into a 4- and 5-way multi-way pot, it's a lot harder to win. You have to win with your cards in those situations. And the best thing about tournament poker is you're trying to win a lot of pots with your chips. You're trying to accumulate chips at a very fast rate. It's very different from cash games where winning with your cards is perfectly fine. It's probably the best strategy. But in tournaments, you really, especially no limit, you have to be able to accumulate chips at a reasonable rate to keep up with the blinds and antes and keep yourself in a position where you don't have to be facing elimination all the time. So in order to be able to do that, you got to play a lot of pots that are 2- and 3-ways where you can make moves after the flop, like c-betting or betting scare cards, and augment your chances of winning these pots as often as you can. So I think that, if you make the pot significant to start with relative to the stacks, that's an important thing. So, like, if everyone's sitting around with 25 big blinds, you can open to 2x, and that's significant to everybody. It's 10% of their stack. They're not going to speculate lightly. But if you open to 2 big blinds and everyone's sitting around with 300 big blinds, and you're sitting there with 2 aces, then all of a sudden everyone's calling you with everything under the sun, and the flop comes down, somebody's probably going to beat you, and they're going to get a lot of leverage against you. That opportunity to give your opponents big leverage is what causes problems in those multi-way pots. So, they can profitably play a lot of hands, and you get yourself in a lot of bad spots with aces where you run into big selection bias of trying to beat, like the best of 4 hands. So I think, when the stacks are deep, you should be opening to a little more than is probably prevalent in today's poker game.
When you're opening 5x, does that open you up to a lot of 3-bets, where the 3-bet's now going to be pretty sizable as well, or is that something you're adjusting for as well?
Well, a lot of the times, if people are 3-betting you pretty sizably, they have hands. It's kind of defining their hand range for you. And so, if your hand range is appropriate for your situation, like you're in an early position and you're starting 12% of the hands or something, you're going to be able to defend often enough because of just the quality of your cards that it makes it hard for people just to blanketly be stealing from you. That's an important concept with that, is if you have the appropriate hand range for your percent or hand range percentage for your position at the table, you can defend often enough that people can't steal too much from you. So, that sort of balances itself out if you keep your hand ranges tight enough when you're opening bigger, especially in early positions. And, if your opponents are 3-betting recklessly, trying to steal from you, you'll catch them with a big hand sometime and you'll get a big reward. And if they're doing it appropriately, you can just give up your weaker hands and it doesn't cost you very much.
Rep, while we're on the topic of pre-flop strategy and the depths of stacks, of course, the World Series is right around the corner. It's everybody's favorite time of year to play live tournaments. One of the levels that I've always, I guess, I don't know if struggled is the right word, but one of the levels I've often find frustrating when I play live poker tournaments is sort of that 75-150 and that 100-200 level before the antes kick in, because it's one of those levels that, because there aren't any antes, you're not supposed to play as aggressively because there's not much to win out there, and also your stacks are quite shallow because people haven't had the time to accumulate chips. Not a lot of players from your table have usually busted unless there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. I find myself playing these levels really, for lack of a better word, playing them extremely tight and being extremely bored during these levels. Do you have any thoughts on sort of this level 4, level 5 in the World Series?
Well, certainly when they used to give you 3,000 or 4,500 to start the 1,000 buy-in or 1,500 buy-in, and you'd be playing 100 or 200 with no antes, you might be sitting there with 15 big blinds.
Right.
And there's no ante, there's no incentive to try to win this pot pre-flop. I mean, if you pick it up, you go from 15 to 16 and a half big blinds.
And your stack is still kind of too big just to shove because you don't want to be shoving for that much. You have to play really tight, it feels like, right?
Well, yeah, it seems like, opening raising should be a very tight experience. But at the same time, if you can, in the levels before that, if you can create a table dynamic where you can get people limping a lot, and you can see a lot of 3- and 4-way pots, 5-way pots for, one blind pre-flop, sometimes that works out well, where you create a dynamic where you get to speculate and nobody's 2-betting or 3-betting, and you get to see boards and then try to play a little bit after the flop rather than make it all pre-flop play. Because early when there's no antes, pre-flop play really, really is dry. It's like you're playing Pala.
Yeah, no question. One of the concepts I saw on one of your videos was this idea of a different type of player. One of them is a accumulator, and one person is a survivor. And poker tournaments are a different breed of animal, and people approach them in different ways. And the way that some people are, play pretty tight, you call them survivors. They're trying to, get themselves into the money and then maybe get their money in after that. And then there's people who are accumulators who try and accumulate chips early. And make a big run to the final table, and they're not going to cash as often. But when they do cash, maybe their average cash is much higher. Is this something that you see a lot, and it's pretty important, right?
Yeah, it certainly happens all the time. And the people who are accumulators often get reputations as being reckless, as being bad players, as being loose cannons. And a lot of times what they're doing is very calculated. If you are 3-betting the right people on a regular basis, you're going to have enough fold equity that some of these plays are just profitable pre-flop. So there's a lot of things you can do that are just profitable with your chips. C-betting is one of them. Your opponents have to fold after the flop. And so if you take all these plays that you can make these different moves that are just profitable by themselves without consideration for your cards, and you find those right situations, you can get out there and try to accumulate chips with your chips. And then at the same time, you're going to end up in some spots where you were doing that and you had some rag hand, but the situation set up well, and then you got called, and then you managed to win, or you had to show your hand at the end, and then everyone's going to give you this idea that develop this idea that you're really a bad player or that you're really loose, even though you have a good understanding of what's going on, a much better understanding of the poker dynamic than they do. And it can really add a lot of value to your good hands as well. But yeah, I think that style is the most profitable style in poker tournaments. I think poker tournaments really are all about trying to make it very, very deep. The min cash isn't worth very much, especially in these big, big field tournaments. You get 2x. Let's say you're playing a tournament that has 5,000 people, and first place is 1,000 buy-ins, right? I mean, you see these tournaments online all the time. But 1,000 buy-ins for first place. So how big a bankroll do you need if you never get to like those top 5 spots where you're getting triple-digit buy-ins back for your entry? It's like you can go through 2,000 buy-ins and never, be shown a profit if you're not giving yourself a chance to run deep, right? You got to get those big numbers at the end to more frequent than everybody else to be the winner in the long run, I think.
So, something related to that, accumulating chips in the early levels, how willing are you to, say, go broke running a big bluff, say, in one of the earlier levels when the stacks are still relatively deep? Maybe you have some reads at your table or maybe not. But, give us a sense of are you willing to, 3-barrel, run a big bluff early in a tournament?
I'm very unlikely to run big bluffs. I like playing lots of small pots, making lots of small decisions where I can risk 3 to 5% of my stack on a continual basis and hope that my expected return is, 5 to 8% of my stack. So, think I'm just small EV over and over and over and over and give that as many chances as I can to accumulate chips. So, 3-betting wide or opening wide from late position to steal the blinds and antes, c-betting, maybe betting a scare card on the turn. Nothing crazy, but just lots of active small moves that give you chances to take advantage of the spots where your opponents haven't made hands. There's a lot of spots in poker where it's just right to fold. And if you can find those spots where you feel like it's right to fold where your opponents bet into you and then turn them around and start using them against your opponents, you can get yourself in a lot of positive expectancy things without using your cards, and they're relatively low variance if you do it right.
One of the other topics you talk about is and have videos on is how to think about a poker hand. There's poker hand tells a story, the meaning of different actions, and one of the videos in this series is thinking about opponents' ranges. And it got me to think, as I'm mostly a cash game player, tournaments. When you start constructing an opponent's range. Do you ever get really enough hands, unless you're in a regular and you play against a guy a whole bunch? Are you ever going to be able to construct a reasonable, reliable range on a guy if you don't really play a high volume of hands with him, or is there more to it than that?
Well, you're never going to super narrow it down unless you've played a ton of poker with somebody, and you've played maybe by the time you get to the river and there's been several streets and several things that give you a lot of information. But you might know that this person never shows up with suited connectors from early position, so you can start there. You might know that you've never seen them roll over small pairs from early position, so you can start there. But you just have to the biggest part of that concept is people, especially newer poker players, try to put their opponents on a hand instead of a range. So they think, they have to have top pair to be betting here. And I think that's a really flawed way to think about it. So a big part of that idea with that session is to help people just wrap their mind around a different way to think about poker. Sometimes we'll have top pair. Yes, sometimes we'll have an overpair. Sometimes we'll have a set. And like people have like these emotional biases when they're right. They're like, he had top pair. I was right about him. I got a read on him. And that's not really the way poker works. There's just some chance they have top pair, and then there's some chance they're bluffing. There's some chance they're betting a straight draw. And as you get to know your opponents a little better, you'll learn who bets their draws, who doesn't bet their draws. You'll learn who check raises for value on different streets. So if they're checking, they might have value. You'll learn things like that about your opponents, and that helps you narrow down what kind of things they may have in these situations. But I see a lot of people who approach reading their opponents with the idea that they have X hand, and then something happens on the turn, and then they change from X hand to Y hand. And, like, really both those hands were part of their range on the flop, but you were only considering X hand, and now you're dismissed X hand, even though it's probably still part of their range on the turn. And so they end up getting surprised sometimes at the end. They run into situations that maybe they could have foreseen.
Another session you have is Deep Stack Multi-Way Post-Flop, and a video on playing hands for value. And one of the topics is ways to overcome being out of position. And I think a lot of people struggle with playing hands out of position, big hands, especially against aggressive players.
Well, when you are playing hands multi-way and there's a lot of chips, and you make a hand that has some kind of value, it's important to get that value. And, donking out, for as much as it has a great reputation, they call it a donk bet because everyone thought only the bad players did it. But, it's one way to actually go ahead and get value for your hands when there's a lot of people in this pot, and at the same time protect your hand, not let your opponents draw out on you. And it also will get you a decent amount of information. And the aggressive players aren't, reckless in multi-way pots like this. When 5 people see a flop, you're not going to see some guy who's just, decided this is the time to try to bluff all 5 of them. The guys who are reckless and aggressive, they tend to do it, in the one-on-one situations as opposed to the big multi-way pots.
Are you able to give a specific example? Because donk betting is something that's actually quite interesting to me, and I've never figured out perfectly how to employ it. And we're talking about early position, and it's a key part of early position strategy. Could you give some specific examples of either board textures or betting patterns that you think donk betting might be a very valuable thing?
Sure. I mean, let's just say you were the big blind and somebody in early-ish position raises, and 5 of you take the flop, and you call with the middle pair 2 sevens. And now the board comes down king 7-6 with 2 hearts. So this is a board where the 7-6 are connected. There's a flush draw. There's a lot of situations here where allowing 5 people to see the turn card can put you in a pretty compromised position from out of position. And you also want to structure this pot. You have the second nuts right now if you have a set of 7s, and you're winning, and you're going to beat a lot of kings. There's a lot of value in other people's hands, and so if you check, people with king queen or king jack may not bet into this pot, right. And there's chances it just checks through. And a guy with ace king or aces, if you lead out, he might think you're on some kind of draw and raise you, and you get an opportunity to lead and 3-bet. So donking when you have a strong hand, when you want to create a bigger pot, you want the pot to grow. It's an effective way to make sure that a bet goes in on every street. And now you've taken the tempo, so if you bet the turn, you're not leading out of tempo or any of those things. And it also will sometimes confuse your opponents. They'll think you have draws when you do that, or that you might only have 1 pair. Why would a guy just lead out if he had a set into the 5 of us? Why is he trying to make us fold? But you're not trying to make them fold. You're trying to make the pot grow because you think you're going to win.
Yeah, I see a lot of that with donking. I see people discounting the strength of anybody who donks a lot of the time.
For a long time, it was really the weak players who were donking. They would just lead out I got kind of sort of hand, and I don't know whether it's any good. I'm just going to bet out there and see what you all think about it. And then the good players would go, oh, you're looking for some information. Well, here you go. I raised. I got a good hand. You should throw that in the muck. And it was almost like it was a verbal exchange, because then the guy who donked out would just throw his hand away at a really high rate. He'd be like, I needed some information, so I let out to get some information, and he gave me the information, so I folded. And, once people kind of wrap their mind around it like that and start calling it a donk bet, it sort of just propagates that idea. So there's a lot of spots in poker where leading out of tempo is just right. If you ever play PLO and you check your hands in that game, you learn right away that you have to bet your own hands in that game. And so that concept that works really, really well and is an absolute must in one poker game is something that you should think about how to transfer it to other poker games, how to use that skill, find spots where that has value in other games as well.
You break down stages of the tournament in one of the sessions, where you introduce 3 main stages of the tournament: early, middle, late, and some of the different adjustments that you make for each of the different stages.
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't think of tournament play as being dynamic. They think of it as I'm showing up and I'm trying to win a tournament, and I'm going to play the same from the start to the finish. And that leads to all kinds of different problems. In the beginning, ICM means nothing. It doesn't matter. All the chips are the same. When you start off, everyone has the same stacks. You might argue that they're a few cents different if you doubled up versus your very last chip in your stack. But that doesn't really start to come into play until you get much closer to the money, where each spot changes pace significantly. So, in the early stages, you should be trying to accumulate chips. You should be trying to put yourself in positions to survive. And then in the later stages, where taking risk has big negative consequences, you should be scaling back the amount of risk you're taking and trying to play much more conservatively, making sure that you are surviving first and accumulating second. And I think a lot of people just aren't aware of the differences as you go through it.
Final table considerations. Hopefully you get to the final table, but when you do make it, ICM is a big factor. I think a lot of people have trouble wrapping their head around the concept that of the independent chip model. Do you have difficulty teaching that?
The people who have gone through that session and given us feedback have been happy with the way we approached it. I just kind of created an example I explained what the theory behind ICM was, and I gave an example where 10 people started off with the same stack sizes at a final table with a payout structure that I grabbed from one of the World Series events or something. And then I said, if these two people combine, what are their stacks worth? And then you can clearly show if first place is if first plus 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th add up to less than half the money. If 5 stacks combine, they're clearly not worth more than they were when they started. Right? So, you can create examples where you just show the idea. And then once they have to get the idea first. And once they get the idea, then you can start talking about how to apply the idea.
I remember the very first time I thought about it was when Greg Raymer made the final table. Remember Bill Chen offered to buy Greg's stack before the final table.
Mm-hmm. Or at least a big chunk of it, yeah.
And assigning a value. I'd never really kind of thought about it too much before that, but when Bill, of course, the smartest guy in poker, goes ahead and offers them that, it made me think about it in a different way. And it was just an interesting moment in poker, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not intuitive at all that that's how it would work. So, I used to work with Bill Chen. When I worked for the same Wall Street firm he does for 6 years.
Oh, nice.
And,
the number. How many World Series bracelets does that company or alumni of that company have now? Do you know? I think I've asked you this before, actually, but the number keeps going up. So
I don't know off the top of my head. It's double digits. I think they have.
That's amazing.
Some number in the 15 range.
Yeah, that's amazing, including the founder.
Yeah.
Who's the founder?
It's pretty strong.
The 10K. I don't know his name. Rep would know, but
Eric Brooks.
Eric Brooks.
Oh, Eric Brooks.
10K stud. He played
on the 10K stud.
I think it's the only event he showed up for that year as well, right?
He comes out most summers for a week or two and plays. So
nice.
But,
looking forward to what's your schedule look like, Rep? I know we caught you down. You're in LA, playing in the big mix game there at the Commerce, I'm guessing. But what's your schedule look like? You play a ton of poker. You're driven. You're one of those guys who nose to the grindstone. How much in that World Series of Poker 6 weeks are you going to be away from the tables? Is it just eat, sleep, and poker?
Well, the World Series is definitely eat, sleep, and poker. I might take 4 days off for a 7-week stretch. And then the rest of the days will all be double-digit hours of poker.
Where's your grind? Is it all tournaments, some cash? What's the breakdown?
I show up every day and play the first tournament that's available to me. If that means I bag the day before and I got to play that tournament, that's what I play. But that's not a bad problem to have. But so I get up in the morning time to play the morning tournament. I go in, I play the morning tournament. If I get knocked out, if it's a 5 o'clock event I like and it's close to 5, I'll hang around and register for it. Sometimes I'll late reg. And if I get done with tournaments for the day, I'll head over to the Bellagio or the Aria and play cash. And depending on how good the games are, and maybe as late as I guess the schedule a little different last year. And then last year it started at 12. This year it starts at 11. But I used to try to give myself a 2 o'clock curfew unless the game was great, and then try to be home and asleep by 3. That way I could get up by 10, have breakfast with my wife and kids, maybe play in the pool with the kids a little bit before I head into the same thing the next day.
This is why I think a guy like Rep is perfect for being a coach and doing the training material that you do, because I've talked to you every year during the series. Our paths cross at some point. I get the feeling that you really enjoy playing poker and discussing poker and thinking about poker, and I think those people are invariably the people who make the best coaches. So I think
rare. There's not people that enjoy play that much and still enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I mean, people ask me all the time for poker lessons, and I'm like, you don't want me. You want somebody like Rep, I think. So I think your new venture is going to go quite well.
Thank you.
Well, how hard is it, Rep, getting back to that schedule of yours? I know you play the biggest mixed games, so let's say you're playing, 500, 1,000 mix, and like you said, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I got to go to bed to play a $1,500 tournament that's a blind and a half, the next day. And yeah, there's this big payoff if you bank it or whatever, but for a guy, so it's more than an hourly for you, do you think? Or when you look at tournaments versus cash?
Yeah, like during the rest of the year, I don't play very many tournaments. The World Series is really unique in that 2,000 people show up for those events. So the opportunity to be worth significantly more than you're buying really increases as the field size grows. If you're playing a 300-person tournament trying to claim you're worth 2x, you better be awfully good and they better be awfully bad. If you're playing a 5,000-person tournament and you said, when I play in the 300-person tournament, I think I'm worth 1.5, and then we're going to add the next 4,700 best people to this field, I could see you making an argument that you're worth 5x maybe. And so, the opportunities to your hourly rate goes way up when those field sizes grow. So your opportunities to, have that big score, it does show up all in that one big score, but you do have a lot more opportunity if you convert it to hourly. Like, it's just worth more to play tournaments that time of year, in my opinion. So
Indeed.
There have been years where I thought the cash games were better, but not recently.
Well, in tournaments, I guess if you're playing cash all the time, tournaments are a bit more fun, too. If you don't play them very often, you can go try and win a bracelet. So you got a couple, and hopefully you add to the total this year. You probably don't remember this. I think I've told this story on the show before, but you were at the dinner for my biggest credit card roulette loss of my lifetime. I don't know.
Here we go, Adam's bad beat story.
This is a bad beat story, but I'm trying to pick a bone, and he probably doesn't listen to the show, but Gavin Smith, our old G. Yeah, we all went out.
Tojo's.
Yeah, you remember it.
River Rock tournament?
Yeah, so we go to Tojo's. There's 20 of us or something. Gavin brings a couple of friends, a bunch of girls, and somebody else did too. And we're all eating at one of the most expensive sushi places in town. It's all great food, of course. And CCR comes around, and Gavin's like, no, the girls don't have to put anything in. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She ate more food than I did.
And you brought them. If you don't want them to pay, you put their cards in.
You put your own card in. And
is there a point to this story?
I want to tell it, as you mentioned, a bad beat story, a CCR bad beat
just like
story.
We have a guest with valuable time. Is there a question for our guest involved in this?
The question is, should Gavin be left out of credit card roulette's discussion
is he
from
banned?
now on? He's got to be banned.
Is he banned?
I don't know. When I go out with my friends, if a guy's there with his girlfriend, often he'll put in 2 cards. So,
that's right.
That's fair.
Exactly.
That's the taking the equity.
So we tend to try to balance it on average, but
that's right.
It doesn't always work out that way.
You can go to Alaska and pick up your money from Gavin.
Yeah, that's right. Go on a cruise up to Alaska.
What was the price?
It was like $2,600 or something. So yeah, I got the credit card statement from my wife got it, and she's like, what the hell are you spending $2,700 at Tojo's for, or whatever it was? I said, I paid the bill and I got all the money. So
yeah, it's like I did it for the points.
You were like, honey, I was there with a few girls. Is that a problem?
That's right.
Yeah. I bought them dinner.
They weren't going to pay.
Yeah.
Rep, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time. Hope you have a great World Series. The website is thepokeracademy.com to check out the No Limit Hold'em web series to help improve your game. Rep, again, appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. It's good to talk to you guys.
That was Rep Porter of thepokeracademy.com. You're going to run into him at the World Series, I'm sure. You guys.
I'm sure. Sometimes he's walking around the hallways and not actually physically at a poker table, and then we usually say hi. He gave me a very brief but very helpful No Limit Deuce primer last year. I was going to play the 1500. I ended up running deep in something else that didn't allow me to play it, but he was giving me some quick tips on that one in case I decided to play it. Like I said, the guy loves to talk about poker and teach poker, so I'm sure if you go to thepokeracademy.com and check it out, he'll provide you with some value.
Let's finish up with the In Case You Missed It. We've got a couple quick things to get to. The first one, the French Senate has passed amendments to the online poker laws in France for the French based ring-fenced sites that are regulated. They are now able to enter into agreements with other regulated countries and share liquidity, which...
it's a good start, very good start, obviously.
Yeah, and it's frustrating that it takes this long for them to see that that's something that they need to do to expand their regulated site base. But it's a big step, and if it's successful, then hopefully other countries that are doing the same thing, Spain, Italy, will look at that and go, yeah, that's a good idea.
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Can't wait till we get the Newark to Paris cross rivalry battle.
Yeah, which is, it's strange to think that that's an anomaly because we had it for so many years.
Right.
And now it's this hilarious thing that maybe might happen one day. In case you missed it, Irish gambler J.P. McManus won $17 million from billionaire Alex Gores in a session of high-stakes backgammon. This is one session. I think it was like 72 hours straight or something that they played this marathon session. Happened in 2012. Just when you think billionaires got their shit together and are smart, this guy decides to lose $17 million.
Well, he's a billionaire, so it's $17 million. I mean, it's sort of... I just Googled him. $2.01 billion is his net worth.
So $17 million's much puny little...
It's under 1% of his net worth, so, whatever your net worth is, think about how much... I mean, actually, losing 1% of your net worth kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of fair, because that's actually like a lot when, for... I mean, I guess if you've only got like $500 in the bank or something like that, or your net worth is negative, but for I would think for like most people who are like fairly established, like losing 1% of your net worth would still suck.
Well, and he doesn't have $2 billion in the bank. These guys, they're not liquid, right? So $17 million that cash that he's got to hand over to this guy is probably pretty painful.
And the general thought is sort of like when you talk about billionaires, it's you always hear like the story of like billionaires who fly fly economy class or something like that. And it's like, well, they're billionaires for a reason. Is always the old statement,
right?
But some of them are degens too, just like the rest of the world. Some of them are smart with their money, and some of them are degens.
Yeah. We talked the other week about Tom Dwan. It was last week about the $20 million pot, and we thought, well, was that the biggest poker pot ever played?
Right.
And it just goes to show you that there's so much that goes on that we don't know about.
Yeah.
That you don't ever hear about. The only reason we heard about this was there's a court case with the IRS going on about it, so it was detailed out. But there's so many. Probably the $20 million pot in Macau that Tom lost probably not even in the top 10 of biggest pots of all time, right? It's strange how that happens. In case you missed it, for those that aren't going to the World Series of Poker, there's a pretty fun event going on in Montreal at the Playground Casino, June 15th to 20th. Series over 5 days. $500 buy-in main events. Not a huge series, but affordable for a lot of people. It's a multi-entry, one entry per flight. But the one that caught my eye was a charity event that Guy Lafleur, Guy Carbonneau, and the Big Bird, Larry Robinson, are all going to be involved in. Again, this is in Montreal.
A lot of Stanley Cup rings.
Many rings. How many is that? That's 15 rings?
Like
16?
Like Robinson is like 7 or something.
Rings
like
are
Oh, right, because he's coached twice. The Devils. Yeah, he might have 17, 18 rings. And the Kings as well. But $135 charity event to go sit down with 3 legends of hockey.
If you get your good table draw, exactly.
Yeah, and if you luck out and get to play with one of those guys, that'd be a pretty fun event. Non-smoking event.
Do you think Guy Carbonneau will just be there playing poker really defensively?
It's gonna be like he's killing penalties.
Yeah, exactly. He'll just like win enough. He'll win the blinds every orbit, and you'll never be able to get rid of him.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. I mentioned non-smoking events, so the flower will be running in and out of the room, I'm sure.
Just the fact that the whole concept of non-smoking anything in Quebec just it makes me chuckle in my head just watching like Quebecers running in and out of like whatever building that they happen to be in.
You've seen the documentary about him, yeah?
Guy?
HBO one.
He used to hack butts in between periods.
Yeah. Well, also he's had a crazy time.
Guy?
Going to like spending huge sums of money at like the strip club, showing up to games.
This is now or during his playing career?
During his playing career.
Nice.
There's an HBO documentary about him where he would show up after like all night binges to like Blackhawks games.
It was such a different world. Like professional sports now, like it's not like people don't get in trouble in professional sports these days. Obviously they do, but like they're so regimented. Like they're in bed by 11. Like they've got like a I know of professional sports teams that have like sleep coaches, right? So it's like they make your hotel room ready and they black it out for you, and they wake you up at the right time for your circadian rhythm, and then you wake up and like here's the meal that you're going to eat, and like your strength and conditioning trainer is going to put you through exactly 27 minutes of cardio and all this kind of stuff.
I'm thinking of the wrong gi.
Not gi. Which
Johnny Manziel, then you're blowing your whole. Yeah, which gi are you thinking of?
There's an HBO
gi Carbonell, because it's still relevant. There's a lot of gis in hockey. I'm just gonna Ross. We'll let Ross search on.
There's a lot of gis in hockey. Guy Lapointe, Guy Lafleur, Guy Carbonell.
He's been in and out of AA and
Guy. Who? What other gis?
I don't know. There's got to be a lot.
There's a bunch. Yeah. All right, we'll come back to that when Ross figures out which gi was. But I know Lafleur used to hack the butts during the intermission. Sergei Zubov used to do that too. Guy Bear. And all right, so we're going to come back. We've got some viewer mail, listener mail. I would say viewer mail. I'm a Letterman guy. Listener mail. We've got some Roscoe reports, a couple other things on the other side of the break. You're listening to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. More right after this.
What's up, guys? My name's John Beaupre, and I'm the founder and lead instructor of PLOQuickPro.com. Now, we're the only site that has an entire suite of PLO courses designed by myself, a WSOP champion, and 3-time Supernova Elite PLO Crusher Alien Slayer. Over the past few years, we've successfully taught more than 1,000 players how to master the fundamentals, increase their win rate, and move up in stakes for good. So whether you're a small or micro stakes grinder trying to become a winner for the first time, or you're already a winning player looking to make more money and move up in stakes, and especially if you're a no-limit player looking to make the transition to PLO, we've got the videos, PDFs, and tutorials to help you plug leaks and look at the game in a new way. To learn the guaranteed fastest ways to master the fundamentals, increase your win rate, and move up in stakes for good, visit www.ploquickpro.com/pokercast to get your very own personalized PLO curriculum. Or even better, if you'd like to reach out to me personally, shoot me an email at john@ploquickpro.com and I'll help you find the best courses to fit your game. Good luck.
Okay, people. Most of the kittens have perished. There are a few left you can save, though, and here's how to do it. Get involved with the PokerCast by emailing your questions, suggestions for the show, or even record a sound clip. Adam will be using the best ones on the air. Well, let's face it, probably the worst ones as well. I can see you there at your computer. Send an email right now. Totally disagree with one of Adam's takes last week? Send an email. Love last week's interview? Email. Want to know how much cash Adam has on him right now? Email. Pokercast@2plus2.com is the address. Ship the funny to Adam today.
At the 800 table, UTG min raises to 8K with 32 big blind effective. Cutoff calls with 70 big blinds, and I call with 10-9 of spades on the button with a stack of 400K. Both blinds fold. Flop comes Jack 8-6 rainbow with 1 spade. UTG bets 14K, cutoff calls, and I overcall. The turn is the ace of spade, giving me a flush draw. UTG keeps on betting, 32K this time. Cutoff calls again, and I raise to 90K. After tanking for a few minutes, UTG lets it go. Cutoff takes even longer before folding too.
Team Pro Online's Marc-Andre French Dog Ladouceur is a Supernova VIP. This is the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club.
Damn.
Welcome back to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. You figured out who it was now? Not Guy Lafleur.
Theron Fleury.
Theron Fleury.
Yeah. So I got the Fleur apart, right?
That's where that was.
Decades apart.
There's a little bit of that. Decades apart, many provinces apart. One played on the West Coast, one played on the
you guys know how good I am with
sports?
With my sports talk. The Chicago had a sick record.
The Chicago had a sick record.
Well, when you get into like D-Gen hockey betting, then probably you'll know.
I've stayed away from I've been off the sports betting since before Vegas. So
attaboy.
No
you haven't gone back
here.
Good.
Just straight PLO. Anyways, so Theron Fleury, he came to the Vancouver AA Roundup before I'd ever gone there, and it's like 2,000-3,000 people in this big ballroom, and they bring in these professional speakers. So he came, and they have this AA has this policy where you're not allowed to conduct business in the meetings or anything. So he just had a book. So he's pimping his book and stuff, and you're not supposed to take photos at those events.
Right.
And people are like, "Oh, a celebrity!" So it was this big controversy where people were trying to take photos with him, and he was trying to sell books. And
well, and it's also weird because
he brought a box of books.
No, I don't think he brought them, but like he's referencing it.
Yeah,
like
go to the chapters or go on Amazon and buy the book. But I mean, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't the second A in AA stand for anonymous? So if everybody knows that Theron Fleury is showing up at an AA meeting, doesn't it by definition cease to become anonymous?
Well, yeah.
I'm just saying, like...
Yeah, people use their full names and stuff. There's all sorts of...
So it's not as anonymous as we might think from the name?
No, it's not quite. But they still want to keep it separated from people pursuing their own business interests.
So I had a new segment idea. I don't know if you guys are interested in this at all. I'm going to throw it. I'm
cold shower in the other room?
There's no cold showering. Spitballing this to see what you guys think.
Okay.
I was at lunch with a couple of buddies of mine the other day, and one of the guys is a total germaphobe, to the hilarious extent. He'll wrap his hand to open up the bathroom door in his sleeve.
He's unhealthy germaphobe.
I've seen people go into the bathroom, use the paper towel to turn on the faucet.
He's like that.
New paper towel to turn off the faucet. New paper towel to open the door. It's ridiculous.
It's funny to watch.
Yeah,
my buddy, because he can laugh about it.
Right.
I can go and watch him do all this stuff and laugh at him. So we're having this thing, and we had this lunch. We're talking about it, we're laughing. We walk outside to our cars, and my car was parked next to a dumpster. And on the ground, right next to the dumpster, it obviously had fallen out of a garbage bag, was those little floss picks that you can buy now?
Sure.
Instead of buying floss, it's actually attached to a piece of plastic.
Yep.
Terrible for the environment, probably, because every time you floss, you're throwing away a piece of plastic.
Yeah, but it's getting people to floss.
People to floss. So, anyways, I'm looking down on this, and I'm thinking, how much would I have to pay my buddy to pick up this thing off the ground and floss his teeth with every tooth with it?
Wow.
So I asked him.
I mean, how much would you have been a normal person? Though?
Well, that's what I want to get to. So I asked him. I said, "Would you floss your teeth with this for $10,000?" He said, "No chance."
Wow.
And he's not a super rich guy or anything. $10,000 is a very big deal for him.
I'd do it for $10,000.
Yeah. Oh, I'd do it for $1,000. I mean, so then my other buddy.
I'd pay you.
We were trying to think of what my number
free
was.
Free floss pick.
So it's actually, we were trying to figure out what my actual number for doing that specific thing was, and $500 I'd do it for.
Do you have to floss all of your teeth? You have to get all 32?
I mean, a bunch of your teeth. At some point, it doesn't matter anymore once you put this thing in your mouth. For a minute.
At some point, there's more of your saliva than the previous level of...
So I was hovering probably... I'd do it for $500 for sure, and then less I'd have to really consider it. So anyway, I thought this was kind of an interesting thing. How much would it take for you to do some...
So we're basically talking about fear factor meets prop betting?
Exactly. Fear factor meets prop betting. We'd probably need a new drop, but we need... people to send in things, via email, via the forum, via Twitter, topics for us for how much would it take you to do something.
Okay.
Specifically this one, what would your number be to pick up a used floss next to a garbage that somebody's clearly used, floss your teeth with it?
Well, okay, so if... My number is different in a couple of different contexts. So if it's out of a dumpster, it's probably more than $500 because there's a really good chance I feel like I would get sick. And I'm not grossed out by stuff. In fact, when you talk about germaphobes, the more that I sort of study, the more that mild kind of exposure to germs is really good for you.
Good, right? Of course.
Kids should go outside and play in the dirt, and it develops their immune system. So when they're 50. They're like 50-year-old people who played in the dirt as kids are much healthier. So there's definitely exposure to dirt's a good thing. So I actually do try to go to the park and get my hands dirty once in a while. But this is kind of the level of when you're picking it out of a dumpster, like, man, like, you don't know. There could be like a condom, like, that it dropped in there. So it's probably a pretty large amount. It's probably well over 500. It's in like the low mid four figures. I think
2,000-3,000.
Yeah,
in that range?
Somewhere in the low mid four figures. Just because, like, if I do get like violently ill, I really want it to be worth my time.
Now, this game is sort of dependent on what your relative bankroll is, but I want everybody to kind of take that out of their mind if it's at all possible. I know it's going to be difficult, but just as a raw number, don't take too many considerations. And Ross, what's your number for?
Well, if it was used,
it was used.
That's pretty gross.
It's gross.
But that's the thing. Like, if you used a piece of floss and then just handed that to me, I'd be like, oh, it's only like Ross's mouth. Like, it's gross, but it's not like mega.
I know him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it didn't come out of a dumpster. Like, a dog didn't take a shit on it. Like, it came out of the factory. It went into Ross's mouth. Now it's going into my mouth. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But if it comes out of a dumpster, you just have no idea.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty gross. I mean, it would have to, like, I have to look at the state of it, but maybe, I don't know, probably about the same as Terrence.
Yeah.
A couple thousand.
Get the electron microscope out, see if there's any strains of E. coli on there.
If it had some, like, brown stuff, like brown bits on it, I'd be the price just went up. But, this, you should say your number first. What do you?
Oh, I already said mine. Okay. It's less than 500.
This reminds me, first of all, I have some pretty busto friends, so if we want to get people to do stunts on the air,
they'll do it.
I have some friends that would eat
this could be
some
really
real
good.
Spicy stuff. Like, I don't know if you remember
cinnamon
maybe
challenge?
a year ago, I showed you a video of my friend. I paid him $20 to eat a spoonful of the chili paste from a faux restaurant.
I remember that. Yeah.
That was pretty brutal.
And
also, there's a movie called Cheap Thrills that is basically about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's with David Koechner, who was Champ from Anchorman.
Sure.
And he it's a movie about a rich guy who finds these random guys and starts paying them to do stunts for his enjoyment.
That's awesome.
And it's a good watch.
He's Bill Perkins is what he is.
Yeah, basically, except more extreme. And so, yeah, I would recommend that movie if anybody is interested. It's a good kind of prop betting movie.
Quick update on the where in the world are you listening from thread. Aru, listening from Los Angeles, California. The 3-hour shows definitely help kill some time during my commutes through the hellish traffic here. Keep it up. At 5,121 miles from Kells. I don't know how anybody lives in L.A.
I don't know how they like. If I lived in L.A., I would just never leave home.
Yeah,
I'd get like my groceries delivered online, and just, that's it.
I don't know how anybody does it. The comments for the show thread. VeggieCap writes, "Hi, PokerCast crew. I'm a massage therapist and have a keen interest on ergonomics while playing poker, and sitting is not the best for various reasons for long periods of time. I'm considering a standing desk setup, a lying down version with a screen attached to the ceiling, or a saddle chair that requires the use of your core muscles as the stem wobbles around. I'm interested in the unique home poker setups of the cast and the listening community may have in regard to whatever their drive is." Excuse me, I got the hiccups. How do you go about spending a lot of... I know your guy's pretty healthy, concerned about this kind of thing. What's your long-term grind setup like?
I have a standing desk. When I worked at Ultimate, I actually had a treadmill standing desk.
Like sauce.
Yeah, it was. Russ Rosenblum was the guy who convinced me I needed to do it. Russ Rosenblum, final tableist from 2003?
Yep.
Whatever year Robert Varconi won. And
3 was Moneymaker. Come on.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So I guess it would have been 2002. Rob Varconi would be the year before Moneymaker. So I had that. I ended up selling it, and that worked pretty well. I wouldn't recommend a treadmill desk for online poker because it's almost impossible to walk and keep your hand perfectly still.
Yeah, you misclicks.
It's pretty good for like just a regular office job when you're on a headset and you've got
a delete button,
stuff to type, and you've got a delete button. Yeah, mistakes don't actually cost you
real money
unless you're like running a nuclear reactor or something like that. Then you probably should. So I have the standing desk right now, which I'm pretty happy with. Use a footstool. You kind of like adjust your balance, do one foot and the other, do yoga poses if you want. And that works pretty well. I found that it works very poorly. My one Twitch that I did a live stream, I believe it was a W Coop Limit Hold'em last year, people got really excited because it was like, oh, Terrence Chan is going to just stream Limit Hold'em. They got really annoyed because when you're at a standing desk, I guess you kind of bob up and down. It's not natural. So yeah. But I want to know what he thinks. I mean, he's the massage therapist with an interest in ergonomics. I want to know his opinion because, this is a really coincidentally time because just this morning I was thinking, man, if I'm going to be playing poker tournaments with the World Series or if I'm going to be playing live cash, like, what do I need to do? I could, go to one of those relax the back stores where they've got all kinds of like gadgets, you
stick by your chair,
whatever it is. There's all those kind of things, and I've always wondered what the best ones of those are. So I'd really like to know.
Okay.
So
our Iploff inductee Sauce famously plays on the treadmill desk
earlier. Yeah. So what's your setup?
My setup is my couch.
Yeah.
I actually I have this kind of table that I put over.
Oh, nice.
And,
like a dining table.
So I can sit back and it brings the computer closer. So I'm not leaning down because the top of my back started hurting a lot when I was facing, like, slouching.
Yeah.
And then I have I need that.
This is the nuts, by the way. This is, I believe, a
Terrence
company called
showing us
ErgoQuest. If you Google zero gravity workstations, you'll see a few, which is, I think, what VeggieCap was alluding to. It's basically a zero gravity chair, so you're almost entirely horizontal, kind of in a almost a hammock position.
Look like you're at the dentist.
Yes, it's a lot like a dentist chair. The monitors are suspended overhead.
You probably get your teeth cleaned while you're playing.
Yeah, you could. I mean, find a way to look around the drill.
Yeah.
If you go to, I think ErgoQuest, they're about 5 Gs.
Wow.
They ain't cheap, but it's basically like a one-piece unit, and you get your monitors attached right at eye level, and you got your keyboard and your computer at a slant. So for the Super Bowl, that might even be better than the treadmill desk, as long as you kind of remember to take breaks. But there's a few like workstations from $5,000 to $20,000 that will just sort of like let you lie down and lie there,
be neutral
while you grind.
The foam roller behind your back when you're sitting is pretty good too.
That helps, yeah.
Sure.
I have one of those big exercise balls.
Oh, okay. You sit on a.
And I sit on one of those when my back gets a little bit sore, or even when it's not, just so I have good posture. So, and like Ross, I also kind of lie back on the couch.
I used to play with the idea of trying to get a massage therapist over when back when I was like playing 13 hours a day of Limit Hold'em and making a bunch of money. I thought about this, but most legitimate massage therapists won't come to your house after like a certain period of time. So you're stuck with like going on Craigslist and getting like very questionable people coming over to you. So it never really like worked out that well. But I feel like there could be like a niche market for like massage therapists who are like legit real good massage therapists who could give good chair massages when you're playing like online poker at like 1 a.m. or something like that.
Nice. Thanks, VeggieCap, for the question. The comments for the show thread, if you want to drop something in there, feel free to head on over to our forum. Review of the week. This week was Balas3099. Speaking of first times, I took my first cold shower this morning. Pretty sure you guys don't want an audio recording of that, like Adam suggested in one of the episodes.
He's wrong. I do.
We definitely do that. That's what we're looking for. We need the comedy. I really I really enjoy the cast and hope you guys keep doing what you're doing for years to come. Thanks for putting out the quality content every week. Thanks so much for dropping that review into iTunes. Much appreciated. All right, let's get to the mail.
And now.
That right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Malcolm? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
Mailbag. Email number
1. Hey guys, my name's Lewis. Just calling, wondering if you could spread some love for Leicester winning the Premier League. Leicester is 314 miles from Kells. There were 5,000 to 1 outsiders to win the Premier League. To put that into some context, Elvis to be found alive was 2,000 to 1. Kim Kardashian to be next American president in 2020 is 2,000 to 1.
Seemingly
which
less
I don't think
of a
is that
long
bad.
shot every day.
That's pretty good, actually. Also, big shout out to Bournemouth, who have stayed in the Premier League, and Sheffield Wednesday, the Championship team, who are in the playoffs to go up into the Premier League. I don't know if you've got a contingency plan for if you've got 2 teams in the Premier League, maybe I suggest ditching Sheffield Wednesday, taking on Birmingham City, and then I can give you progress reports of me at the stadium, getting drunk, taking my top off, singing loudly. Oh, and we need to pick a team for the Euros. May I suggest Wales, who have never been in the competition before. Cheers, guys. Love the show. Keep it up. See you later.
Oh, that's fantastic. I think we take Birmingham City just on the fact that we might get some singing and drunk audio or video from next year. We're absolutely taking Birmingham City. Yeah, good shout out to Bournemouth, who managed to stay in the Premier Division. They didn't get relegated, and Sheffield Wednesday.
Is that like an accomplishment? I mean, I know so.
It is for a small sort of a small
it's like not getting fired from your job.
Yeah, that's it. Which we're all not good at. No, clearly. All right. We gave the shout out at the top of the show, Leicester. Fantastic. And Kim Kardashian's really 2001 to be president.
I mean,
it seems longer.
Nobody
than that.
would have thought that we started the show with the Donald Trump thing. I mean, it's like I feel like Kardashian's like less than 2001.
Really?
I don't know. I don't really.
She's more likely than Trump.
I don't know. Well, I mean, Trump wasn't 2001, but. I mean,
yeah.
You know, is she 35 by that time? I mean, you have to be that. You have to
That's
be like
right.
35 too, or whatever.
You know, do you know who Chris Sacca is?
No.
So he's a billionaire, one of the biggest Twitter investors. Started at Google, was one of the early guys at Google.
Okay.
There's a podcast out. I guess this could be a favorite thing, but there's a podcast by Bill Simmons. It spends an hour and a half with him. I've listened to it a couple of times already with Chris Sacca. If you're at all interested in high tech, his story or some of the other stories in tech, it's fascinating. He's a venture capitalist, so check that out. I know I was saying that for a reason. Oh, because he predicted in the podcast, and quick spoiler for part of this show, that and here's a really smart guy who predicted that the next president of the United States was going to be Mark Cuban. After he thinks Hillary will get 8 years, and he feels like Mark Cuban will come along. He'll be a moderate Republican, and he'll rally the right, sense. I guess, around him.
Yeah, popular guy.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. All right, we've got an audio one we'll do later. We're going to read some more. We're going to read some.
The
now?
audio one is a component to it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Right.
So
okay, we'll get to that. All right.
Email number 2.
Chris writes, "Hey guys, as a longtime degenerate, I've always dreamed of going to Las Vegas, but haven't had the chance yet. As similar degenerates, I was wondering if you could share your feelings for the first time you visited, flying in, driving in. How does it feel that first time, man? Does the excitement fade in subsequent trips? Keen to hear your thoughts. T, can you remember the first time that you went to Las Vegas?
Like it was yesterday.
Really?
No, I mean, it's great.
Awesome.
Like, I think it's such a great experience going to Las Vegas for the first time. I get excited when it's other people's first time going to Las Vegas. Yeah. Like, if I'm going with somebody and I know they've never been, it's fascinating to me. There's so many people that, especially if they're from, like, not America or, like, not a big city or something like that, just to see the wonder is amazing, right? Like, my dad's girlfriend is, from China, right? Like, she went for the first time last year, and I think she was hammered by the stimulus. One of my favorite drives into Vegas, when I was driving, it was really late at night, and, I was driving, and if you approach from the north, I think it's US 95 from the north, you just come over the hill, or maybe it's just the 15, you come over the hill, and all of a sudden, you see nothing. It's pitch black, and then the whole skyline hits you all at once, and it's an incredibly impressive review. I remember in 2006, something like that, I was actually in the car. So it's been a 19-hour drive from Vancouver, and I was in the car with my girlfriend at the time, and we'd been actually in a very heated argument, like in a very like angry, like about to bust the relationship argument. And
if I remember which girlfriend that was, that happened quite a bunch.
You might be right. I don't know. But you just come over the hill.
Cannot confirm nor deny.
Yeah, you just come over the hill, and we're just like, wow. We're just absolutely blown away by like how gorgeous it is from a distance, how cool it is. And then that first time walking on the Strip, that's super cool. My first time wasn't super exciting in Vegas. I was still excited to go. but we stayed at Circus.
Wow.
Me, my cousin, and my dad. You know, it was like the $29 a night special or something like that in the middle of August when it's just like 190 degrees. And, you know, we flew in and stayed at Circus, and I had not been playing poker at that point, but I'd learned to advantage play blackjack. I learned to count cards a little bit, and I just went and played all of, like the places with like $5 minimums, and like, you know, tried to get away with as much as I could. Never got ID'd. I was only like 19. Never got ID'd once. No 19-year-old will ever get away with that now, by the way. But back in the late 90s, early 2000s, you could get away with that. Yeah, I mean, it was a great time. And then I remember my first poker trip there. I was playing 3-6 and 6-12 at the Mirage. I remember that. I remember I mucked the winning hand on the river in 6-12 playing the Mirage. And then after that, I remember after the Bellagio opened up, you know, I played a bunch of 8-16 and a bunch of 15-30 limit hold'em there. Was amazed at how awesome the Bellagio was. Just an amazing poker playing experience. I remember looking up at the top section and seeing all the famous players. I think John Hennigan was there. There's a few other guys. You know, the trip after that, Andy Beal was there playing in the big game. It was an amazing experience, and I always thought when I was playing in the bottom section of the Bellagio, going like, man, I wonder if I'll ever play up there one day. And yeah, it's great. I love my looking back at my early Vegas experiences and other people's first Vegas experiences. It's so cool just walking on the Strip and just there's Paris and there's New York and there's Treasure Island and there's the volcano erupting at Mirage and there's the fountains of Bellagio, and it's
sensory overload.
It's so easy to be jaded, but I just think, I mean, I hate driving on the Strip, you know, like Vegas local, like you don't want to drive. I don't want to be, when I'm actually in Vegas, I don't want to be anywhere fucking near the Strip.
Yeah.
Please don't, like, if somebody is like, hey, you want to have dinner at name the casino on the Strip, I'm like, no. But that trip, the nostalgia of it all, like, you know, and the idea of somebody's first time being in Vegas and walking along the Strip, especially at night, I really think it's just the best at night. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Chris. I don't even know where Chris lives. He doesn't even say if he's even remotely in the region. But if Chris ever does make that trip out there, hopefully he makes it out there maybe this summer for the World Series. I'd love to hear from him on how that goes.
That's why I love the Bellagio North Valet, because you don't have to go to the Strip.
That's true.
You can actually just pull in. You don't ever have to go to the Strip. That's
quit
great.
Giving away secrets.
That's the secret.
Go on Flamingo.
It's funny you mentioned the Mirage, because and looking up at the top games, I remember the first time I was in the Mirage playing poker, I was playing in the 3-6, I think, or
Mason
4-8.
was playing. The first time I ever played at the Mirage.
Really?
Mason was there, by the way.
And I looked up there was a 30-60. It was the biggest game in the room. It was a 30-60 limit game, and Todd Brunson, Jennifer Harmon, all these big names were playing in it. I was like, oh my God, that's the biggest. It's 10 times bigger than this little game I'm playing here. And that was, they were all grinding away. That was early, though, late 90s, I guess. The very first time I went to Vegas, though, again, wasn't about poker. I just been old enough. I don't know if you remember. You're probably not old enough. You're not old enough to remember this, but there used to be a game for Monday Night Football, and all the pubs that showed the Monday Night Football in Vancouver had this thing called QB1. And
I do kind of remember.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So you could go in, and it was basically this almost like a laptop, and everybody got one, and you get to predict the play that happened in the next play. So you'd be like, pass short right would be one thing, and so then the play would happen. If it's a pass short right, you get points. And then you played against everybody in the bar, and you played against everybody in North America. And I won one Monday night, and I won the whole thing, and I got a trip to Vegas. So me and my couple of buddies end up going to Vegas. I have this hilarious Vegas story. So indulge me for a sec. So we go down there. I think I take like $1,000, which is most of my money or whatever. And I lose it the first day, of course, playing blackjack and roulette or whatever we're playing. And then I can go at 12:01. I can go to the bank machine and get another $500, and I have maybe $600 or something else in the bank. I can't remember, not much. So I go get like half of it, blast that off the second day. Third day we're there. I've run out of money, and I have and my buddies, they're both pretty much out of money. Like, we're broke in Vegas with no money, and my one buddy has like 100 left. So we go to the roulette table where they go, this is our shot.
We're going to gamble.
We're going to gamble. Yeah, we got a place to stay tonight. We don't have any food, but if we lose 100, whatever, we're idiots. So we go to the roulette table and we put 25. We spread $25 around. and we lose the first roll, we lose the second roll, we lose the third roll. We're down to $25. We put it out there.
The K-screen chip.
The K-screen chip, we lose that.
Oh,
we're broke.
That's not how
my buddy reaches. No, my buddy reaches into his pocket and he finds one $5 chip that he has. So he changes the $5 chip into 5 ones. He puts it on 11 and all the way around 11. Boom, 11 hits.
Wow.
Which is like, I don't know, $100 or something. Yeah. But it's all the money in the world. Like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning.
Despite the fact that you had $100 a few minutes ago.
You're right. It doesn't matter. So we're high-fiving. We're goofing around. Woohoo! We're making a big fucking racket. And meanwhile, while we're doing that, the croupier grabs the ball, spins the wheel, and we're fucking high-fiving. We're doing being idiots. 11 hits back to back, and he did. And the money's on the
because you guys didn't have the presence of mind to actually pull the money.
But I think now they push it off or whatever.
Yeah,
but it hit again while we just didn't realize.
So the whole pile was on there.
So all the money was put on.
So it was like $3,000 or something. Now
it's 1,000.
Oh,
we hit the 1,000, and so now that got us. Going, we end up going playing blackjack, and we end up getting even. All of us get even.
Crazy Horse got the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's my first time in Vegas. Your first time?
Well, my first time was last
just now. Yeah, tell us about.
So I think
what was it like?
It was awesome, but I think because I went to Macau first, and that was like culture shock and like Vegas all at once.
Yeah, I guess.
So I went there, and then I went to Vegas with you guys, and it wasn't. I don't think it was quite as exciting because I know so much about it, and I was with you guys who have been like more times than you can count. So I think my first Vegas trip was a little bit different than the average person who's going there with a buddy. And they don't know
experiencing.
They don't know the spots that all you guys.
Can I ask you a question? Has your girl been to Vegas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she went. She has a funny first Vegas trip story because her cousin was dating she was like gold digging some like oil guy, and it was my girlfriend's 21st birthday, and her cousin got the boyfriend's black card, and he's like, go spend all the money you want.
Oh, good God!
So
my Lord.
They went there and they bottle serviced and all the night.
Shopping.
Apparently they spent like 6 figures.
Wow. Holy shit. Yeah. That's a hell of a 21st birthday. They must have thought that she was a Kardashian or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Well, Chris, get out there.
Email number 3.
Tank Moylan writes, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and poker champion.
Fourth place champion.
Yeah, right. He's not the champion. He's the 4th place. Chuck Liddell should watch JC fight Liv B. Then he'd know how poker players felt watching him play in the 2008 World Series of Poker. Cringeworthy. I don't remember Chuck Liddell playing the World Series. I remember Forrest Griffin playing.
Yeah, I remember Forrest Griffin and also Rampage Jackson, and it was the day after their fight.
Yeah, that was crazy. Forrest is all like bruised and battered,
beat up. But I think obviously like somebody put them in it for some publicity reason or another. But I definitely think that actually Chuck Liddell has played poker in an Ultimate Poker charity event. But JC and Olivier both fight much better than MMA players play poker, except for maybe Martin Campman, who, of course, I think won a run-it-up tournament under the tutelage of one Mr. Jason Somerville.
Oh, yeah.
And so Martin Campman might have some game, and I'm not sure. There might be some others in there.
Email number 3.
No, this is 4, man.
Oh,
come on. How are we going to get to...
Email number
004. Dan writes, hey, guys, love the show. Been a listener since it started with 2+2. I'm in central New Jersey. Kells is 3,179 miles from us. My question is about traveling to the World Series with the family. I've been to Vegas before, but it's always been on a guy's weekend bachelor party type of trip, never with kids. I recently won an entry to the main event via WSOP.com in New Jersey. Sick brag. And the wife and I are debating whether or not to take the trip out with our family or make it a vacation for the summer. My wife is awesome and knows that I'll be unavailable on the days that I have to play the main event. Her and the kids, 2 of them ages 10 and 3, are fine hanging out by the pool, shopping, etc. I figure the most realistic scenario is that I'll be in the main for 2 or 3 days and have the rest of the time with my family. She's also fine with me going with a couple of poker friends. Your wife is awesome. Okay, on to the questions. What are your thoughts on doing a family trip versus a poker trip with a couple of other poker playing buddies? All right, let's answer this question first. If your wife is cool with it and you're cool with it, I think that it would be your first I'm assuming first time playing the main event. I'm going to go out there and not be distracted by having my kids and wife there.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. I mean, I'm not the expert on this subject. Obviously, I don't have any kids, but I do have a lot of friends who've gone there and done that. At the same time, I would suggest, and this kind of goes into the second question a little bit, but I would suggest not staying at the Rio. I mean, I think that's a thing. You probably do want to stay at a strip casino, but
we'll get to that. That's part 2.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead and read part 2.
Okay, part 2. If doing a family trip, what are your suggestions for a hotel or a B&B or Airbnb? Keeping in mind that a pool is very important to my wife and 10-year-old daughter.
Well, most of the Airbnbs will have pools in them, like especially a lot of the gated communities. I mean, Vegas
They're townhouse complexes.
Yeah, Vegas is just full of pools. But
pools kind of suck.
I don't know. There's some decent ones. Like, I mean, there's some really nice gated communities in Vegas. So I wouldn't agree. But yeah, of course, obviously, like they're not the Mandalay Bay wave pool. I mean that's where
I was going.
If I had kids, I'd be taking them to the Mandalay Bay because that's an awesome pool.
Not a super expensive casino. To stay at.
But it used to be, right? Like the only reason it's not super expensive is that there's 9 or 10 casinos that are newer than it now. But it used to be the nuts. So that would be the one. I'm personally a big fan of staying at Airbnbs when I'm in Vegas because I want to have a kitchen, all the comforts from. That's because I'm usually staying there for quite a while. But I think strip casino is probably the way to go.
Parents likes Airbnb so he can play video poker in the grocery store.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't think you'd never seen that before, right? Speaking of Vegas first times, Ross had never seen a slot machine inside of a gas station or a grocery store.
And people actually playing them. People stop for gas and get stuck at the video poker.
People are probably there for like 5 hours. We just don't know.
Because, the video poker lounge at the grocery store.
Playing like 7-5 jacks or better.
Nice. He continues, thanks for the PokerCast Karma. P.S. I don't listen on iTunes, but on Android through the Dogcatcher app. I know that reviews help you out. Is there any way for us Android people to leave you a review? I don't know if there is.
I got us up on Google Play.
Oh, cool.
Yesterday, and Google Play, I think, is right now it's an Android app for podcasts. So that
should be something there. Yeah,
there's one place, but leaving an iTunes review, you should just be able to do that in the iTunes.
If you have iTunes installed,
he doesn't have it on his installed, right?
I don't know.
But yeah, we could. I mean, that might be a good spot to start because Google Play for podcasts is pretty new. I think it's like less than a month old or something like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it would be nice to get some reviews up there too.
Email number.
It's number 5.
Hayes writes, hey guys, so far from Kells and Summer with Counting. I've always been a bit dismayed with the forums on 2+2. On many different podcasts, I've heard hosts and guests discuss how great 2+2 was, and yet I've found a lot of trolls and little substance. Though the Another Kid, Another Dream is a great read. It was not unexpected that after John Beaupre's first appearance on the PokerCast, that in the forums he was trashed, and his site and videos labeled as nothing more than an infomercial. I wanted to pick up a second game for a while now, and because of its popularity, PLO was the only choice. I had seen John's site before, but I wanted to read Jeff Huang's books first. Last week I took the plunge and sent John an email asking him to call me. He responded almost immediately. He did say he had a Skype call to make, but would call me after that. 90 minutes later, he called me back. In all my interactions with John, he's responded with alacrity. When I get to a dictionary, I'll know that. Professionalism and generosity. In other words, I found out that he conducts himself in the exact opposite manner that the trolls say or expect. Imagine that. To close again, I'm not affiliated with PokerCast or PLO Quick Pro. If you don't like the site, how you can reach that conclusion without trying the site is beyond me. Then don't join, but you will be missing out. Enjoy your time playing 3-card Monte on the sidewalk outside of Caesars in Vegas, Charles. That's truly the game for you. Yeah,
I guess Brian. This comes back to something that Brian talked about in the first segment. Is that sort of anytime you put yourself out there as a business owner or business person or a representative of something or another, like people are going to come after you for stuff. And but I think John's been more than professional on the site.
Totally agree.
And definitely, I think his material is worthwhile. I get people's criticisms about the site. When I went to PLOQuickPro.com for the first time too, I thought it looked super infomercially. I mean, and that's fair, but you don't always judge a book by its cover, and just judge the man, not the.
Indeed,
yeah. John tries really hard, and he's a great teacher, and he's taken a lot of what people have said on the forum to heart, and he's started improving the the look of PLO Quick Pro and
the approach.
Yeah, I love the site for sure.
All right.
Email number
6.
Obi writes, "Hey guys, Obi from Bavaria, Germany, approximately 1,700 kilometers away from Kells.
The Germans.
I send you an interesting hand I played a couple of weeks ago in a local tournament. It was the quarterly jackpot tournament in a small poker club that I used to deal in. I'm friendly with many of the players, but also don't know a bunch of them because I only play there 2 to 3 times a year. The level of play has not improved since 2008, and almost nobody thinks about anything else other than the cards they're holding. It was the first hand I played after folding for about an orbit or so. Stacks are at about 15K, the starting stack, and blinds are 25.50, no ante. There's an add-on rebuy option for another 10K chips, which some of the players had already made use of. I'm in the small blind with Ace-King offsuit. Hijack is unknown. He raises to 200. The cutoff, I know him, but he hates me. Thinks I'm always bluffing, therefore never folds against me. He's the cutoff he calls. The button, I know him too, very loose. We pip around 75. He calls. I thought about re-raising to 800, but I was 99% sure that no one would ever fold, and I don't want to play a huge multi-weight pot out of position. Of course, I could re-raise for value and just give up if I don't hit, but I don't really like playing a huge pot that early. And after all, it's only Ace-King. Big blind calls as well. So 4 to the flop. 5 to the flop. Ace, deuce, queen with the ace-queen of spades. I have no spade in my hand, says Obi. I check. Big blind checks. Hijack bets 600. Cutoff folds. Button folds. I call. Big blind folds. So they're now heads up. Raising is not an option in my opinion. Neither is folding, obviously. I don't mind the way he's played this hand so far. I guess we're early. I might raise there a bunch of times I think. But some pretty balanced. Terrence, do you like the line so far?
Yep. I think it's worth considering raising, but I think calling 300 big blinds deep is probably better.
Okay. Turn is the 8, the offsuit 8. So it's now ace, deuce, queen, 8, still with a spade
Actually,
draw.
I'm going to amend that because I think I would 3-bet here just because the position the raise came from a pretty late position and because of the players are quite loose. So I probably actually will hammer it with this 3-bet pre-flop. Like you're playing deep stacks out of position with ace-king, not the best thing to do, but I think building the pot here, in a pot that you'll win fairly frequently by just kind of c-betting is probably worth doing. I think definitely if there's an early position raise, I would just call, but I'm going to change my mind on that one and say I'll 3-bet pre.
Cool. Again, the 8 on the turn, ace, queen, deuce, 8, still with a spade draw. I check again. Hijack bets 1,500. I call after thinking about it for some time. At this point, I'm relatively certain that he's mostly betting 2-pair with ace-queen or sets, deuces or queens, but also has some draws in his range. He could have a combo draw with the king-10 of spades or the king-jack of spades or maybe the 10-jack of spades or maybe even an ace-king as well. So I call. So I still think calling is okay. I considered folding but thought it was too weak. Yeah, I don't think you can fold there. I like the check call on the turn.
Yeah, I would check call there too. I'm a little confused because if you think most of his range is kind of crushing you. Ace, queen, deuces, ace, queen, deuces, and queens are all crushing you. The combo draws, so on. I think most of the combo draws will also continue betting. He says maybe Jack 10 of spades. I think Jack 10 of spades is betting like 100% of the time there. But it's still kind of you're still too strong to call unless you have or too strong to fold unless you have a really strong read.
The river's the king, the offsuit king. So I make 2-pair. The flush doesn't get there, but the 10-jack straight got there. Very unlikely, though. I check again because I don't see the point in betting. If I bet, I have to fold to a raise. Checking gives him the opportunity to check behind some inferior 2-pair, which I'm fine with. He bets again rather quickly. He bets 2,000, so he bets 2,000 into 5,200. So that gives me 3.6 to 1 on a call. So what do you guys think? How did I play this? Well, I want to talk about the river first. I think I bet this river a fair amount of the time.
Really?
Folding to a raise, I think you're not gonna get raised there very often by a hand that you beat. I think you can. It's one of these blocker situations. I think you can bet out there, or at least I can think I can bet out in that spot. Name my price for the river and get some value out of those ace queen hands that he would have checked. Or that he's not going to check behind ace queen, I don't think. But I think I'm going to get some value out of some hands that I'm ahead of. I think it's really hard for me to raise, to get raised, because the 8 on the turn brings a double gutter too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think 10-jack is a realistic possibility for me in the big blind in that spot. So I don't think I'm going to get raised very often if I'm ahead. So I think I'm going to bet out in that river a fair amount.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think betting is reasonable. I think checking and calling is also reasonable. I would disagree with your analysis slightly in that I think I could see ace-queen checking behind a lot, because what the hell do you have here, right? If the other guy has a clue, what is he expecting to get? If the other guy, from the other guy's point of view, if you're holding ace-queen, what do you expect to get value from? Like, is this guy going to call you with ace? Is Obi going to call with ace-jack, ace-10, that kind of thing? It's hard to get a lot of value. I mean, ace-deuce maybe, but I mean, ace-deuce and ace-8 are kind of the only plausible hands that ace-queen can reasonably get value from. So I think there's a good chance that ace-queen actually does check behind, given the size of the pot and the action.
Fair enough. He continues. So what do you guys think? How do I play this hand, or how do you play this hand? Excuse me. How do you play this hand? I think we talked about all the way through the hand. I'll leave you a voicemail with the conclusion of the hand, because I want to hear how you would have played the river and what your thinking process is like. This hand was at the very beginning of the tournament with a lot of time left to play, but was still very important because I already have a third of my stack at risk. Also, later in the tournament, stacks get really shallow, and it's mostly push or fold, so interesting spots happen early when the stacks are deep. I hope you find some time to discuss this hand, and I hope you like this format of keeping you in the dark. I do. I think this is awesome. Keep up the great work. Hats off to T and Ross for the All In or Knocked Out podcast. Great stuff. So before, and he left a voicemail with that. No, hang on. Also, I think he wanted to. Should we try and, because the guy bet. And he didn't say if he called yet, so I think I'm if I'm Obi.
Yeah, I think
we call.
I think he's probably calling.
And what do you think he's going to run into?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, it is a completely unknown player, and by his own admission, like, the people in this game are kind of terrible. So, I mean, I don't really know. I don't
like ace-10.
Like, let's stitch back to what Rep was talking about in the strategy segment. Let's not try to put our opponent on one hand. I think that's a mistake. I mean, I think that who cares what he ends up running into? In fact, like, the results aren't even that important. Only like the results are only important if he rolls over something just completely mind blowing, right? Like, if he's just like straight up got like the 4 or 5 of diamonds or something like that, and then the lesson to be learned is, people can show up with anything,
which we talk about all the time. Yeah.
If there's something in his range, I don't think we really learned that much about it.
All right.
What's up, guys? Obi calling. I hope you read my email earlier, because otherwise this call would be really stupid. So I called off the bet, and he showed me pocket deuces for a flop set. Looking forward to your thoughts. Bye.
Yeah, I think that hand's just going to happen.
That hand is very much in his range. All the He said ace queen, deuces. I mean, there's just a lot of hands that can be beat there. It's a fairly tough spot on the river. I'm okay with the way he played the hand and sort of check calling every street. I mean,
I wonder if he makes it 800 pre, if the deuce is full, or if he calls and he goes bust maybe. And
he probably loses more money if he makes it if he makes a big re-raise play, because I mean, small pocket pairs are going to love to call in that spot, in position,
deep.
Money is deep with a small pocket pair. Yeah, I mean, but that's okay. Sometimes you'll just have queens and set over set them, right? Like, that's the way it goes. Or sometimes he just misses a set and you bet and defaults.
All right.
Email number
7.
Tank Moylan, Terrence is on steroids.
I wish. That'd be sweet. I was going to say, like, nobody on... it's not actually true, though, that nobody on my size is on steroids.
Nobody?
People do get, like, people in, like, the UFC's, 125-pound division, which I compete in, like, they get popped for steroids, too. I guess they're just, like, the... steroids don't always make you huge. Like, sometimes they just help you train harder, right? And so, yeah, cool. I mean, I'll consider it one day.
You're going to do a cycler, too?
Yeah.
We didn't get to number 9, unfortunately. Can you just play number 9 anyway?
Sure.
Email number
9. Number 9.
So Scott Wilson reminded me. I knew I'd heard that before. I couldn't remember where. I hadn't listened to the White Album forever. It's from the Beatles' White Album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Yoko Ono came in there.
She had their experimental phase kind of thing. It's like long, just not. It's this weird track. Anyway.
Yeah.
I know. I'm dropping this, guys, on you real quick, but favorite things this week. I have one favorite thing. You don't have to play the drop if you don't want to. I just wanted to mention this. There's a documentary out there called The Best of It, and it's now on iTunes.
That was the one with Boston.
It's with Alan Boston. Check it out. It's $15 it's on there. It's hilarious. If you're a big Alan Boston fan as I am, and a lot of people I know listen to the show like it, check it out. It's The Best of It. I just came across it again and wanted to remind people about it. You guys, anything off the top of your head?
Cool.
Favorite? No. That's dropping.
That Cheap Thrills movie I was mentioning before. That's another good movie to watch.
Okay.
And this podcast documentary, All In or Knocked Out. I don't know.
That's pretty cool. That's the favorite thing.
It's pretty good.
My next favorite thing after that is the Roscoe Report.
Oh, okay.
Good old Roscoe. Sure glad he's all right.
Listen, boy, you gotta pick your spots good. You gotta make hay while the sun shines. Hey, good. You dipstick!
It's time for a Roscoe Report.
All right.
Don't forget to follow along with the Ross Report hands in the show description and the PokerCast forum, the show thread.
The PLO Quick Pro concept of the week.
The PLO Quick Pro concept of the week this week is c-betting and barreling the turn. It's a profitable thing to do if you can hand read and just follow up with a bet. A lot of people, it seems like, call you light on the flop and then give up when they're going to face a bigger bet on the turn.
The PLO is always great because the turn card it changes the texture so much in PLO a lot of the times. You've really got to kind of be aware of what people pick up, I think, when they pick up stuff on the turn, if you can barrel there profitably or not. All right, let's get to the first hand. 25 cent, 50 cent, PLO's 6 max. You didn't jump up yet? You still running like Jesus?
No, start of this month, not so great. Breaking even, but...
just breaking it. Bummer.
Putting in those hands and keeping my VIP status up.
Nice. Are you Supernova yet?
No, I should be by the end of the year.
Do you have the stars, the steps level up sound and animation?
I turned off everything except for the raining money sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was always tilted me because it seemed like I only got the raining money sound after I lost.
Me too.
Yeah,
I hated it.
It's obviously selective memory, but it's like
because I've never even noticed that. Maybe I'm running too good.
You are.
Hand number 1 is you're in the small blind. No, you're in the small blind. You are dealt the ace, king, king 8 with the king 8 of clubs. Middle position, full raise. There's a fold. The button flats. You make it 750 with the ace, king, king 8. The middle position original raiser calls. The button calls. You're playing about 100 big blinds deep here. The flop is 8-5-3 with 2 hearts. Again, ace, king, king 8. 3-5-8, 2 hearts. You bet 19. The original raiser middle position guy flats your 19. The button flats the 19. The turn's the 3 of diamonds, pairing the bottom card, 8-5-3-3, which, wow, this is an interesting card. I like how the hands are getting more, they're different than they were at the beginning of the Roscoe Report.
They're less standard?
I guess they're less standard, yeah, that might be a way of saying it. This is a really, really interesting spot, I think, because you're not up against many full houses, right? 8s, 5s, 3s, flopping sets or making quads and river turn. A lot of the hands that fill here raise you on the flop, other than maybe 3-5, I think is probably the only boat you're going to be up against here who might flat on that flop. And you're not up against aces because most of the times you're not up against the aces because you open the door for aces to get it in. You're blocking one with an ace. This is a really cool spot. So you're not going to get credit for a full house here very much. You're going to get looked up late.
Every other 2 pair, basically.
You beat every other 2 pair. So you ship it in here on the turn, and I think I like it. I think I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah, I think it's I actually feel like it's very clear. Just jamming all in. Like we have a stack to pot ratio that's barely over 2.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that. Yeah.
So you're always just going to get it in on the flop, whether you think you're ahead or whether you think
I guess
you're
if
behind.
it's deeper, it's interesting. It's more interesting. Yeah, that's a good point, Terrence. I didn't really look at how much was left, but if you're playing a couple hundred big blinds deep, that's super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody, like sometimes you're just going to be drawing to like a 2 outer king, I guess, but I mean, it's not going to happen that often.
Yeah, I like it. I think you win the hand. What ends up happening?
I ran into a slow played ace deuce 3-5.
So yeah, I call it, the only 3-5 would be the only one.
Yeah,
you're up against. What a horrible call pre with ace deuce 3-5, by the way.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's he was playing the wrong game. He was playing the mixed Omaha. He thought he was playing the mixed Omaha. He thought he was the high-low round.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that line a lot. All right, hand number 2. You are again in the small blind. This time you have 200 big blinds to start the hand. You're dealt the beautiful King, Queen, Jack 10, double suited. King 10 of hearts, Queen Jack of spades.
I like it when the suits are even right. The suited king and the suited queen. Everything is perfect about
it. It is great. Of course, so you can make the higher flush with the king queen suited. Under the gun raises, full pot, fold. You raise to 575. So you repot. Big blind folds and the undergun calls. So it heads up to the flop. Queen 7-3 with the queen 7 of diamonds. Again, you have king, queen, jack 10. There is the 3 of hearts, so queen 7-3 with the 3 of hearts. The flop, so you flop a backdoor flush draw, top pair, and a bunch of running straight draws. You bet 750 into 12, and the imposition player calls you. The turn is the deuce of hearts. Now it's queen 7-3 deuce, 3 deuce of hearts, so you now have top pair with a king high flush draw. 27 in the middle, you bet 22 and get called. The river is the 8 of hearts, bringing your backdoor king high flush draw. You check, the button shoves, and you call. I think I bet this river. I don't mind the check.
Well, I mean, I think that's the only point that we can even discuss.
Yeah.
I mean, everything else is pretty straightforward, I think, to this point. Yeah, I was wavering back and forth. Obviously, given the fact that the other guy bet, then checking has to be
fine.
right.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter whether the guy has the nut flush or just the ace. Obviously, it's beneficial if you have the second nuts, and the guy bets. And it's interesting. I don't really know whether to.
So there's a
check
lot
or
of money
bet
left,
this
right?
river.
There's 71 in the middle.
There's almost one pot size bet left. There's a little under one pot size bet left.
Right. But I think what happens is you don't get credit when you bet this river. You don't get you get looked up a lot lighter than you normally would because you don't get credit for the backdoor running draw. I think a lot of people are going to be, he could have busted diamonds, and
it's definitely more right to bet when you can't get raised. Obviously, for the fact that you're all in, right? Like if we're still 200 behind at this point, then obviously checking is a clearly superior play. But basically the higher, the more that is in the pot relative to what's in your stack, the more betting becomes correct. So
interesting, yeah. So I guess you get the money in the turn.
I can see arguments both ways.
What ends up happening?
He had ace queen 8-9 with the ace 9 of hearts.
So wah, wah, wah.
It's just kind of standard, I suppose.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's going to happen.
I'm not going to get away from the backdoor second nut flush.
Nope.
Do you want to do the last one real quick?
Sure. Let's do the last one. This is the hand number 3. Again, 25 cent, 50 cent. You are in middle position with 100 big blinds. You're dealt the queen, jack, 6-4.
Slightly less beautiful.
The queen, 4 of spades. The jack, 6 of hearts, double suited. You raise, and did you apologize? You should have. The button flats.
This one's a solid apology, I'm pretty sure.
You raise the button flats. There's a full. The big blind calls 3 to the flop.
Under the gun, you don't raise. You limp in there.
No,
I'm pretty sure you don't limp in with that. With the old queen jack 6-4 double suited.
Yeah, I'm folding this one, by the way. So 9 deuce 3 is the flop. Again, 3 to the flop for a single raise. 9 deuce 3, 9 of spades, deuce 3 diamonds. So you flop.
I'm not sure what I was thinking.
Nothing.
Here, but, I might have been on
raging inferno tilt.
Wait, I just lost a 400 big blind pot with the second nut flush.
I'm gonna raise it up. Again, 9 deuce 3, 2 diamonds, 1 spade. You flop no pair, backdoor queen high flush draw, and
I have a gutter.
You do have a gutter. Sorry, I missed the gutter. Yeah, you have the queen, jack, 4-6, 9 deuce 3. So the hero gets checked to. You bet. Button calls. There was 3 to the flop. Button calls, and the blind folds. Deuce of spades on the turn. So now it's 9, 3, deuce, deuce. 2 diamonds, 2 spades. You bet 7 into 12. The button calls. The river is the 10 with 27 in the middle. Hero bets 14, bet half pot. We got this far, I guess. Let's talk about it as played.
I think I give up on the turn.
You pick up a flush draw on the turn. You get called on the flop. You're not going to get raised on the turn when you do bet very often. So you have.
Well, it doesn't matter if you get raised. If you get raised, you throw your hand in the muck.
Yeah.
The problem is, what if you get called and you make a queen-eye flush on the river?
Right.
So you're just out of position, and like none of your draws are. You're not happy really to make any of your draws. So like, what's the river? Why are we betting the turn?
The river bricks off. So played, you've bet.
Sure.
I don't mind the bet on the river. Maybe a bit. I'd bet more, maybe, but. Okay, what happens?
I did have some thoughts in this hand. I wasn't just tilting, but
we're just mashing buttons.
When you're raising, like, I find those low bottom pairing cards are beneficial for like an early position range because of the same as the first hand where you're barreling away and you can represent an overpair that beats whatever they're like
trying to get value.
Their 9 high rundown. So. When I made that bet, and I on the river I make another kind of half pot size bet to maybe get him off of just random one pair or flush draw or something like that. So and I get a cheap price on the bluff, even though I will get looked up sometimes by somebody who doesn't believe me. Anyways, he ended up folding, but I thought it was an interesting triple barrel spot.
Yeah, I guess I'm just probably mucking that one not to get in trouble with that kind of hand. But hey, you turned it into a winner, and you're running at what 30 big blinds 100. So
yeah,
we get some right. Let's get to the Invitational. This is the PokerCast Invitation or Pokerstars Invitational for PokerCast listeners.
Those Russians can skip right to the end of the show now. Well, actually,
we never put it at the end of the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Anymore.
They're always going to 2 hours in.
We're gaming them. This is PokerStars Invitational for PokerCast listeners. This is a $1.10 buy-in. You can find it on the private tab of the tournament's lobby in the client at PokerStars. When you're scooping away, add it to your grind. $1.10 buy-in, as I said. $500 added from the fine folks over at PokerStars. So big overlay. We do it 2 weeks in advance. This weekend, May 8th, as we mentioned before, it is 6 max, no limit. Hold'em. The password is KO Poker, all uppercase, all one word. KO Poker is the password for May 8th, 6 max, no limit Hold'em. The following weekend, May 15th, is this first, I guess Scoop is May 8th as well. Second weekend Scoop. We're going to play 3 max. We talked about it with Brian. We're going to play a 3 max tournament. The password for that one is going to be 40 million for the 40 million guaranteed at Scoop this year. 40 million, all 40 with 40 not spelt out. Million right up against it, no spaces, all lowercase. 40 million is the password for that one. Thanks to everybody who joined us today. We were joined by Mr. Rep Porter, who's down in LA. He's going to be over in Vegas soon. And by Bryan Slick, who's going to be sitting behind his computer for weeks and weeks and weeks. Terrence and Roscoe for driving out to the manure-filled suburbs. Much appreciated. You can smell it on the way back, too.
Ooh,
put
Maybe
the top
we'll
up.
Stop it at IKEA.
Yeah, exactly. All the big department stores you see in the burbs. You can say Costco. You can do. Oh, there's one in downtown Vancouver, but.
Don't forget, Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there who might be listening coming up this Sunday. So, if
let's find out if my mom listens all the way through the show. I know she listens to the show.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Mom, Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I love you very much. I hope you hear this. We'll find out.
I'd be shocked if my mom listens, but I'll throw it out there. Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Ross, your mom listen?
A giant vagina.
Oh, that's
the best drop ever.
Does your mom listen to the show?
I think
no.
we just answered that question.
my girlfriend does, so that was for you.
Giant vagina.
No, my mom still unsure about this poker thing.
Really?
She still thinks.
I remember that.
Yeah, I do too.
I gotta win a bracelet or play 1K, 2K online or something.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
that'll help.
Just help. Yeah.
That'll help.
Yeah,
that'll help.
But mostly thanks to everybody who came in and listened to the show this week. Much appreciated. Not to the PN Pod guys who don't ever answer our voicemails. Why do we bother leaving voicemails?
I mean,
why do we even talk about that?
You'd think the inventors of voicemail knew how to use voicemail.
Right. We don't get a thing. But again, thank you. Head on over. We're out of emails. We got no emails for next week. We ran them all through. Pokercast@2plus2.com. We need emails. We need suggestions for how much would it take. Maybe a drop for that might
How
be
much
fun
would
too.
it take?
or
I'll have to bring my friend Angus in here to eat some.
That'd be awesome.
Ghost peppers.
Let's do that. So, I saw one guy do wasabi. He snorted wasabi. Woo. Oh, it's on YouTube.
Oh, well, they did that in Jackass.
Oh, it's Jackass. Yeah, not YouTube. Yeah. All right. We will talk to you next week. Good luck, everybody. Way down. Way up. Way up. Way up. Dun, dun, dun.
Should probably turn everybody up. That would make sense.
Okay.
Now it's better, right?
Yep.
Thanks for joining us. The 2+2 PokerCast has been presented to you by the PokerStars VIP Club.